webcast. Tenemos quórum. 20, fantástico. ¿Le podemos pedir a Laura?
Sí, claro, díganse, sí.
Tenemos.
We have our next to the last regular Permanent Council meeting for the year. Now we're just waiting for our other colleague in charge of the council, but let's begin by approving the agenda. We've got the verification of the quorum by the Secretariat, so that I'd like to declare open this regular session of the Permanent Council to consider the issues provided for in the draft agenda document CP/OD 2573/25, which, in compliance with the provisions of Article 43 of the Rules and Regulations of this Council, I'd like to put that before you for your consideration. If there are no comments, we will proceed to approval. Before continuing, on behalf of this Permanent Council, I should like to convey a message of solidarity and our deepest condolences to Ambassador Alejandra Solano, Permanent Representative of Costa Rica, for the sensitive death of her father. We will send to the Ambassador and her family our solidarity at this difficult time. On another order of business or ideas, I wish to express our congratulations to the delegations of Suriname and Barbados on the occasion of the recent celebration of their respective national holidays and days. Likewise, we extend our congratulations to Dr. Godwin Friday for his recent assumption of Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, wishing him the greatest success in his term. Prior to continuing with the agenda, I should like to consult the Permanent Council if we can grant an exceptional suspension to the limit of time established in Article 46 of the regulations in view of the application or the request made by the delegation of Mexico, in order to authorize on item 2 of the agenda an extension of up to 10 minutes for the intervention of Ambassador Baños. If there are no objections, it is so agreed. Before moving on, then, taking into account the long, comprehensive agenda that we have before us in response to the invitation issued by the delegation of Mexico to a reception at 1 p.m., this chair will arrange a recess for that time, resuming the session at 2:30 p.m. this afternoon. This is so that each and every one of you can fill in your own agenda. Once again, I'd like to greet our Assistant Secretary General and her team, the entire team that's with us today here at the top table. Secretary for Strengthening Democracy and Juridical and Political Affairs of the organization. Next item on the agenda refers to the farewell to Ambassador Luz Helena Baños, Permanent Representative of Mexico. With deep respect and gratitude, this Permanent Council bids farewell today to our esteemed colleague, Ambassador Luz Helena Baños Rivas, who assumed her functions as Permanent Representative of Mexico on June 3rd, 2019. Throughout her term, Ambassador Baños was distinguished by her leadership, professionalism, and strong commitment to multilateralism, hemispheric dialogue, regional cooperation, and the defense of the principles of the OAS Charter and, of course, human rights, always acting in accordance with the values and rules and regulations of our organization. Ambassador Baños took on various responsibilities of high level, including Chair of the General Assembly, Vice Chair of the Permanent Council, chair of the Commission of American Security, chair of the Inter-American Agency for Cooperation and Development, and chair of the Committee on Migratory Affairs, leaving a lasting legacy in the strengthening of the inter-American system. She also stood out for her commitment to promoting human rights and equality, defending indigenous peoples, women, girls, and boys, people of African descent, the LGBTI community, and all the groups that make up our societies. Her work promoted inclusion, justice, and full respect for fundamental rights, essential pillars for social cohesion, peace, and regional development. Ambassador Baños, her contributions have left a deep mark on the work of this permanent council and throughout our organization. It's an honor for me to receive our most sincere acknowledgement and share that acknowledgement and our best wishes in your future career. Next, I should like to give the floor to the coordinators of the groups from the regional groups and other delegations that might like to take the floor. Brazil has the floor. Mr. Chairman, this will be on behalf of Group 10 and in deference to our ambassador. I'm going to speak in Spanish. I'm honored to represent the Group of 10 to bid farewell to our dear colleague, Ambassador Luz Elena Baños Rivas, permanent representative of Mexico to the Organization of American States. After more than 6 years heading up the permanent mission of Mexico, Ambassador Luz Elena Baños leaves a post that she carried with distinction and dignity, a career diplomat with 4 decades of service for her country, during which she accumulated vast experience in Latin America, the Caribbean, Europe, and Asia. And in addition to becoming a specialist in various areas of fundamental importance, from security and defense up to human rights, right of women, and development, Ambassador Baños has this entire career and put it for the service of strengthening multilateralism in the OAS. Ambassador Baños enshrined the values in the charter of the organization's peaceful settlement of conflict, respect for sovereignty of states, the primacy of international rights, international law, and the generous view of human rights democracy based on freedom, equality, and social justice. Armed with these values and these commitments, she very successfully led different organizations in the organization, the chair of Migratory Affairs and the board of the Inter-American Agency for Development, in addition to the vice chairmanship of this permanent council. Her deep-seated ability to analyze, alongside her deep-seated knowledge of all the issues, led Ambassador Baños to be an undeniable point of reference and negotiation in critical moments in the organization, be it in budgetary issues and financial matters, humanitarian crises, or any other kind of crisis. The contribution of the Mexican representation not only stood out because of their clear-sighted logic, but also because of their common sense and their commitment to negotiated solutions. In taking on this approach, she reflected the foreign policy of her country, and as such, this was done through her brilliant diplomatic work. Ambassador Baños is bidding farewell to the OAS, but her legacy will remain. Her example will be an inspiration, will be always remembered when we deal with the challenges that we have before us. Her firm voice will remain, and her generosity will continue to resonate in the halls of the organization. Today, on behalf of the Group of 10, I should like to celebrate the career of Luz Elena Baños as a reaffirmation of the importance of multilateralism and international law. And we would like to express our gratitude to Luz Baños for friendship, open dialogue, pluralistic outlook, and all of the other lessons that she leaves with us, which are an undeniable part of the practical defense, and not only rhetorical defense of multilateralism and international law together. Ambassador Baños' role was based on the firm conviction that disagreements exist, but we should try to deal with them with civility and open spirit, transparency, and loyalty. without that meeting moving aside from the interests and values that we hold nationally. To bid farewell to Ambassador Banyas not only means that we're saying goodbye. No, we're not saying goodbye to her vision. We will hold dear her vision, which are not reduced to the politics of power, but are based on law and mutual respect. And it will continue to help us open up the road for a region which is truly democratic, safe, prosperous, and one of brotherly love. Thank you very much, Luz, for shedding light on this circuitous route. We would like to wish you and your family much success and happiness in this new chapter. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Brazil, for your comments. Antigua and Barbuda has the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I take the floor this morning as the longest-serving ambassador in this hall at this time, and as a colleague who's had the privilege of standing alongside Ambassador Luz Helena Baños longer than almost anyone else in this hall. For many years, Luz Helena has been one of the most meticulous and steady voices in this chamber. She spoke with conviction when it mattered, grounded in principle, and conscious that our purpose is to protect people rather than mere concepts. Whether the issue was human rights, democracy, or the institutional health of the Organization of American States, she brought clarity, great courage, and a sincerity that never wavered. I had the honor of working closely with her during some of the most delicate moments that this organization faced over the last 6 years, including the difficult impasse surrounding the Guatemalan presidential elections of 2023. Those were tense days, but her insistence on fairness, process, and respect helped guide this organization to safe ground. She had a gift for cutting through the fog of argument to remind us of what was essential. She and I also worked together on thorny matters of OAS governance and financing, where differences of view were inevitable. But disagreement never became disregard, and it never became disrespect. She argued firmly, but with grace. She listened carefully and with consideration. Beyond the formal debates, she and I found time for quiet lunches, moments where the noise of this room faded and we could speak not only about the organization's difficulties, but about life, about family, and about the wider world. Those lunches were not only moments of problem solving, they were also moments of friendship. Luz Helena is an exceptional representative of Mexico, as I know all in this room would agree, and a dedicated steward of this inter-American community. She brought Mexico's voice, but she also brought a defender's instinct for the values that hold our system together: diplomacy, rights, law, and the dignity of every person touched by the decisions we make. She was a negotiator of rare skill and a colleague of great integrity whose word, once given, could be trusted, and that is a rare quality. She is a special and deeply unpretentious person. What you see from Luz Helena is what you get. Her departure leaves a space that will not be easily filled, not because of the chair she occupied, but because of the presence she brought to it. Luz Helena, I thank you warmly for all that you did here, for your leadership, for your friendship, and the humanity that you wove into the fabric of our work. I wish you good fortune, deep fulfillment, and every happiness in the journey ahead, with great affection and even greater respect. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much for your comments. Ambassador, the United States is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The United States thanks the Permanent Representative of Mexico, Lucelina Baños, for her service representing Mexico before the OAS over the past 6 years. Her commitment to advancing Mexico's interests in this body have advanced Mexico's voice in our hemisphere. Under her tenure, Mexico has strengthened relationships, built collaboration, and contributed to the ongoing dialogue in this body. We appreciated your staunch advocacy on behalf of the 4 pillars of the OAS, serving in leadership roles across this multilateral institution, as well as your promotion of OAS budgetary reform. We appreciated your collaboration as we all work together in support of Haiti. Ambassador Baños, as your transition, we wish you the best in your future endeavors. And I could personally say, although I'm one of the newest members in this group, it was an honor to be able that our paths got to cross. And even though the collaboration was not significant in time, it's truly, wonderful that we could get together, and I wish you all the best to you and your family. Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias, Estados Unidos.
Thank you very much, United States. Uruguay has the floor. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And we would totally like to echo the words of the ambassador of the Group of 10. On behalf of the Oriental Republic of Uruguay, I would like to devote some words to pay tribute to Ambassador Luis Helena Baños, to whom we bid farewell today in this Permanent Council. Uruguay and Mexico have an historical relationship of friendship and cooperation based on shared values and common missions on global issues. The history of our countries is interlinked, and we have together defended the common principles of multilateralism, non-intervention in internal affairs of other states, and the respect for human rights. To bid farewell of a colleague is never easy, and the words don't even seem to be enough. Ambassador Baños has carried out her functions as permanent representative of Mexico with conviction, professionalism, and talent, and showing the value that this great country of Mexico has accorded to this regional forum. During her term, she pushed forward an agenda towards strengthening multilateralism, the defense of hemispheric institutions, inter-American law, and the promotion of an open dialogue and a consultative one as well. Her vision is firm, looking at hemispheric affairs, and has contributed to the clarity of our debates and discussions and terms of finding solutions and alternatives for the most pressing problems. Her diplomatic career has offered deep-seated knowledge of our region, which also has marked her own work. In her passage through the OAS, Ambassador Baños, as has already been mentioned, chaired this Permanent Council, the Commission of Migratory Affairs, the Inter-American Group for Cooperation Development, and the CHS. We would like to conclude by mentioning Ambassador's devotion to human rights and her contribution thereof, and her outstanding role in the right for gender equality and the protection of women's rights. Ambassador, your farewell will leave behind your conviction. On behalf of my country and my own word, we wish you the best of success, good fortune in your next functions and your career, as well as in your personal life. I would like to use the words of Mario Benedetti, our poet. Colleague, you know that you can count on me, not to 10 or any other number, but you can always have my backing. Thank you very much, Uruguay, for your comments. Colombia has the floor. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. With Brazil's permission, who has already given words on the Group of 10, I would like to now take the floor on behalf of Ambassador Vargas, who bid farewell with admiration to Ambassador Helena Baños, who has led the mission of Mexico with excellence for more than 6 years. Her commitment to strengthening the inter-American system and multilateralism, international law for the hemisphere, and regional cooperation has left an indelible mark by Mexico and hemispheric diplomacy. Ambassador Lucelena is a high-level diplomat. She is firm and she has common sense, and at the same time, she's a colleague in all loyalty. Together, we shared initiatives, goals, and achievements that benefit our region, always guided by the values of dialogue, justice, and solidarity, which are constant in her work. Her work in favor of gender equality, protection of human rights, and the promotion of international law have been a constant pillar in her term, moving forward policies and programs that strengthen dignity and equality for all. Her inter-American vision and her commitment to the region are reflected in each and every one of her actions in the promotion of sustainable development and in moving ahead cooperation amongst member states, in attention to migration with a human perspective and a hemispheric system based on respect, solidarity, and multilateralism. Her leadership in the OAS was witness of her ability to generate consensuses, opening up spaces for dialogue and strengthening the inter-American system. Over and above the responsibilities that she generously took on in various committees and work groups, Ambassador leaves behind a legacy of friendship, inspiration, and an example in which we recognize her and will never forget her. Thank you very much for your vision, your example, and your friendship. The path that you made in the hemisphere and the Group of 10 will continue to inspire our work and our own commitment for the inspirations of our people for social justice, equity, development, and opportunities that are equal for all. We would like to wish you the best of success in your future career, where you safely will have the best results, as has been the case. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Colombia, for your comments. Chile has the floor. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Chile would like to echo the comments of the Ambassador of Brazil, Group of 10. Nonetheless, on the national level, the delegates of Chile would like to also recognize Ambassador Lucelena Baños, whose career and contribution to this organization leave a deep-seated mark. Ambassador, your professional rigor, your deep-seated understanding of all of the hemispheric challenges, and your vocation to strengthen multilateralism have been a main contribution to this organization's work. Here we have had the privilege of working and cooperating with you, and we know of your generosity to share your deep-seated knowledge and experience, and the passion and professionalism with which you spearheaded each and every one of these spaces in which Mexico has been at the forefront. The delegates of Chile truly appreciate your commitment, the clarity of all of your arguments, and your logic and respect. We also appreciate your firm conviction to promote and respect human rights and your defense of the inter-American system of human rights as a priority of this organization. We wish you the best of success in the next chapter of your life. It's certain that your experience will continue to serve our region, no matter where you are. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chile. St. Lucia has the floor.
Thank you, Chair. My delegation is honored to join the chorus of respectful tributes in bidding farewell to Her Excellency Luz Elena Baños Rivas, Permanent Representative of Mexico to the OAS. We take the floor with a voice shaped by the experience and memory of genuine partnership. My delegation brings warm greetings on behalf of Her Excellency Elizabeth Darius Clark, who wanted to offer these remarks herself, but owing to circumstances beyond her control, is regrettably unable to do so. She has therefore asked that these words be conveyed with the same sincerity and regard that she would have expressed. Ambassador Baños has served her country with the utmost level of dignity, conviction, and a clear purpose and commitment to the work of the OAS. Through her leadership, Mexico has been a partner of wisdom and balance within the OAS. In that space of mutual respect, our two missions have enjoyed an open and productive relationship. St. Lucia values her acute appreciation of the concerns of small and vulnerable states and her constant readiness to listen. We also value her voice, which carried not only the national vision of Mexico, but a deep sense of responsibility for the health and credibility of this organization. Her Excellency engaged St. Lucia with a spirit of friendship and candor. She offered insight and guidance, and in turn welcomed our own perspectives. She met discussions with clarity, grace, and strength. These are qualities that leave a lasting imprint and which will continue to guide this council long after her departure. We thank Ambassador Banyos for her service, her kindness, and her generosity of thought. As she now turns a new chapter, we extend every best wish for continued fulfillment, continued influence, and continued success. Senosha salutes the contribution of Ambassador Banyos and records its gratitude for the partnership that flourished under her stewardship. May the road ahead be filled with purpose, peace of mind, and the same strength that she generously shared with us here. Best wishes to you, Ambassador Banyos. Thank you.
Thank you very much to St. Lucia. Paraguay is recognized. Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you also for the words from the permanent representative of Brazil, Ambassador Belli Benoni. Paraguay is also part of the group of 10, so we thank you very much. However, we would like to also add that my delegation wants to express its gratitude to Ambassador Luz Helena Baños as part of our farewell from this organization. And she has been outstanding for her respectful and strong, robust support for the principles that guide our inter-American system, sovereignty of states, inter-American solidarity, and the value of dialogue as an essential tool of diplomacy. The Paraguayan delegation also appreciates her professionalism in representing her country, the clarity of her interventions, and her commitment to the stable and serious operations of this organization. And she has always been very respectful with our delegation in our interactions, thus contributing to a positive relationship within the framework of multilateralism. Ambassador, receive our thanks and our best wishes for success in your future endeavors. We will certainly miss you, and you have left some big shoes to fill. Your honesty, intellect, and commitment to a fairer, more resilient, and united region have touched us all. Thank you very much, Luz Helena. Thank you to Paraguay. Argentina is recognized. Thank you, Chair. First of all, I would like to echo the statement made by Brazil at the outset of this session on behalf of the Group of 10. But it wouldn't be right to leave without saying some words to express my sincere thanks to my dear friend, Luz Helena Baños. We know that our governments have very different positions in many issues, and a great challenge for me was building trust and respect in our professional work despite those differences. We have shared 8 intense months together, and I'm certain that we have been able to build that trust and respect in our relationship. And we have also been able to even forge a friendship and affection. And I think that your human qualities are what made that possible. I believe that both of us can certainly honor the love that we have for our people through time. And at the end of the day, that's what really matters. That is what matters in history, beyond any conjectural situation. A toast to Luz Helena for your friendship, our differences, and where we came together. Our friendship, intellectual honesty, and your love for the Mexican people. Thank you very much. Thank you, Argentina. Canada. Thank you very much, Chair. On behalf of the Canadian delegation, I would like to express our deep gratitude and also our great affection to Ambassador Luz Helena Baños. It has been a real privilege to work alongside her during her time here, and she has led her team with grace, conviction, and integrity. She has shown us that diplomacy can be founded on principles as well as humanity. Her love for her beautiful country, Mexico, is so clear in everything she does. She is a great defender of human rights, international law, and respect for sovereignty among states.
Whether in formal negotiations or during informal exchanges, Ambassador Baños brought clarity of thought in a generosity of spirit that made collaboration not only productive but a pleasure. Indeed, she was the most democratic of ambassadors, willing to work with anyone in any mission as long as they had something they could bring that could contribute to a positive outcome. Through her active leadership and participation in such groups as the Endeming and the LGBTI+ core group, Ambassador Baños demonstrated courage and empathy, helping us to advance a more inclusive and respectful inter-American community. She is leaving a lasting mark, and many of us have been personally inspired by her example. We will miss her insight, her humor, and her warmth. Canada wishes her all the very best in what is to come, and we hope our paths will cross again. We thank Ambassador Baños for her leadership and as well for her friendship. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Muchas gracias, Canadá. Tiene la palabra San Vicente y las Granadinas.
Thank you, Chair. Querida embajadora,
Dear Ambassador, it's so sad to see you go.
permanent mission of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, I extend our deepest gratitude and admiration to you as you conclude your distinguished service as permanent representative of Mexico to the Organization of American States. Over the past 6.5 years, you have exemplified the highest standards of diplomacy, bringing your wisdom, personal and professional integrity, and unwavering dedication to the multilateral work of this organization. Not only in your general work, but also in your chairmanship of the Management Board of the Inter-American Agency for Cooperation and Development in negotiations in the CAP, your leadership has consistently championed dialogue, cooperation, and respect among colleagues, thus strengthening the bonds that unite the people of our hemisphere. Through your logical, well-reasoned contributions and your fierce adherence to principle and to the tenets of international law, you have articulated and advanced Mexico's commitment to democracy, human rights, security, and development, while embodying the spirit of collaboration essential to promoting and fulfilling our shared mission. As you embark on the next chapter of your journey, we honor your legacy of service and wish you continued success. You depart not only as an exemplary diplomat, but also as a respected colleague and friend whose impact will endure within the OAS community. With my most sincere appreciation and best wishes for even greater success in your future endeavors, I say, Luz Elena, Luz, hermana. May your light continue to shine in the lives of the voiceless populations for whom you have been an ardent advocate throughout your distinguished career. Adios, amiga. Adios. Thank you, Chair.
Muchas gracias, San Vicente.
Thank you very much to St. Vincent, Panama. Thank you very much, Chair. I am honored to speak on behalf of the delegations of Belize, Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Panama, and the Dominican Republic, as we bid farewell to our beloved colleague, dear friend, Ambassador Luz Elena Baños, the permanent representative of Mexico to the OAS. Central America and the DR share a long history with Mexico and also a deep cultural connection, important trade connections, and strategic cooperation, which have strengthened the ties between our countries. And against this backdrop, Mexico has seen Central America as a priority region for its international cooperation and development efforts. Ambassador, we recognize Mexico as a close ally with which we shared historic and cultural ties, as well as a shared agenda when it comes to defending democracy, human rights, and the rule of law. We add to that increasingly robust trade, education, and technical cooperation ties, which have been strengthened by bilateral treaties and agreements that have led to greater opportunities for exchange and rapprochement between our countries. In particular, and with the blessing of Central America and the DR, Panama would like to express its recognition for the outstanding achievements of Luz Helena Baños during her time here at the OAS. Her leadership at the helm of the CSH has been fundamental for strengthening mechanisms for cooperation in the area of regional security. We also value her exemplary commitment in coordinating the group on women's and children's rights as well as gender equality, where she has given impetus to significant advancements in the gender equity agenda in our hemisphere. From the Executive Board of the Inter-American Agency for Cooperation and Development, we have seen her strengthen efforts for technical cooperation to benefit all of our countries. Panama also recognizes her robust defense of the inter-American human rights system and also her decisive drive to seek out solutions in international issues, contributing to strengthening the inter-American legal precedents and principles which guide our region's harmony and coexistence. We have seen her at the Permanent Council enriching our debates and facilitating consensus. Her diplomatic value, dear Ambassador, has led a significant impact on this organization and the relations between our countries. Dear Ambassador, over 6 years, you have honored us with your broad and vast experience, vision, and leadership. Your contribution has enriched our debates at the OAS, strengthened Mexico's presence in places for regional consensus, and we also recognize and greatly appreciate your active participation and that of Mexico in collective efforts aimed at promoting more sustainable, inclusive, and equitable development in our region. In expressing our farewell, we wish you most success in all of your new endeavors, and we are willing to continue working closely with you and your distinguished delegation as we seek out shared solutions to benefit our people. Dear Ambassador, fraternal greetings from my delegation, and we know that the OAS will always be your home. Thank you very much.
Gracias, Panamá.
Thank you to Panama. And now we give the floor to Belize.
Chair, Her Excellency Ambassador Baños, and distinguished colleagues, the delegation of Belize is honored to join our fellow member states in bidding farewell to the permanent representative of Mexico, Her Excellency Ambassador Luz Helena Baños Rivas. Ambassador Mendez sends his sincere regrets that he is unable to be present this morning as he is currently traveling, but he has asked that I extend on his behalf and that of our entire mission our deep appreciation and warmest regards to Ambassador Baños. We join the Chair of Central America and the Dominican Republic in reaffirming our collective admiration and gratitude for Ambassador Baños, whose contributions have strengthened not only her own delegation, but the broader regional family. Ambassador Baños has been, throughout her tenure, a voice of wisdom, clarity, and principled direction within this organization. Her counsel and leadership in this multilateral body have enriched our discussions and strengthened the hemispheric agenda. She has served not only as a distinguished representative of a founding member state, but also as an exemplar of women in diplomacy, demonstrating through her work, her intellect, and her tenacity what it means to lead with integrity and vision. In doing so, she has opened pathways for many others, especially young women who aspire to serve in international affairs. Belize and Mexico share more than a border. We share history, partnership, and a deep, enduring friendship. Ambassador Baños has been a steadfast steward of that relationship. Ambassador, while your formal tenure in this council comes to a close, Belize wishes to affirm that you will always remain a friend of our country. Your contributions to the inter-American system and friendships that you have cultivated here will continue to resonate long after today. On behalf of the government and people of Belize, we extend our heartfelt appreciation and wish you every success in the next chapter of your distinguished career. Thank you.
Muchas gracias, Belice.
Thank you very much, Belize. St. Kitts and Nevis.
Gracias, Chair. The delegation of St. Kitts and Nevis is pleased to extend its warmest wishes and sincere felicitations to you, Excellency Ambassador Luz Elena Baños, Permanent Representative of Mexico to the Organization of American States, as you conclude your distinguished service at this hemispheric body. Ambassador Baños, you depart following an extensive and highly admirable diplomatic tenure, marked by professionalism, integrity, and steadfast dedication to the principles of multilateralism. St. Kitts and Nevis commends your exemplary representation of the government and people of the sister state of Mexico, your consistent preparedness and clarity as an interlocutor, and your unfailing readiness to engage constructively in the work of the organization. We recall with particular admiration your rare ability to balance with equal skill, tenacity in the defense of your country's interests, and an open, consultative spirit in appreciating how those interests may bear upon matters of importance to the wider hemisphere, an essential hallmark of effective diplomacy. I recall with special fondness, Ambassador Baños, your service as first Vice Chair of the Committee on Hemispheric Security during my tenure as Chair on behalf of St. Kitts and Nevis. Our working relationship was always characterized by ease, mutual respect, and the most cordial collaboration, qualities that speak clearly to your diplomacy, finesse, and collegial spirit. It has been a distinct honor to have served together with you, Ambassador Baños, within these halls of the OAS, and I am hopeful that our paths will cross in the future. On behalf of the delegation of St. Kitts and Nevis, and in my own personal capacity, I extend to you warmest best wishes, and to your family as well, for a future defined by continued success, fulfillment, and the very best of life, both personally and professionally. Le deseo nada más que...
I wish you nothing but sun and sun's smiles in the future. Thank you very much to St. Kitts and Nevis. El Salvador is recognized. Thank you very much, Chair. If I may, I would like to express my delegation's most sincere recognition for the work of Luz Elena Baños in strengthening our organization. During her tenure, her strategic vision, capacity for dialogue, and dedication have left an undeniable impact on the OAS. Her great work has made it possible for us to advance in more effective and focused cooperation as we address the concerns of our countries, and I am sure that we will continue to work along those lines, and I would like to give her very special thanks for her support of the Salvadoran chairmanship in the Inter-American in CD. And Ambassador, we recognize your determination and strength in promoting the values of your country. And you've always shown your great human qualities working alongside every delegate and or ambassador in this organization. And your example will remain as an inspiration in multilateral service. We wish you most success in the new chapter of your life, and we are certain that your voice will be a new leader and contribute to building new spaces for strengthening dialogue and cooperation in our hemisphere. Thank you very much.
Gracias, El Salvador. Tiene la palabra.
Thank you to El Salvador. Honduras is recognized. Thank you very much, Chair. Though my colleague Ana Irene from Panama has already represented Central American so eloquently, I would like to also take the opportunity to say a few words about Luz Elena as a friend, as a colleague, and also we are brought together by art and literature. I don't know if you all know, but She was the director of a great Mexican institution dedicated to literature, and that is why I'm wearing this tie today with Frida Kahlo. It's in honor of my dear friend, and it's been 4 years now since that we've been working together here, and we have never had any conflicts that can't be addressed, always respectfully, and she has never spoken ill of any member online. She's never spread any rumors about anyone. She's always been very professional, diplomatic, and serious. And we, of course, as such, never let ourselves be led away by rumors or gossip. And Luz Helena, I love Mexico, and I hope you enjoy your time there. Thank you very much. Thank you very much to Honduras for your intervention. The Dominican Republic is recognized. Good morning, and if I may, with the blessing of the Panamanian ambassador, who is the leader of our group, I would like to also express my gratitude for Luz Helena Baños, the ambassador from Mexico, and also it is very important for our delegation to be here today because this is a farewell, which in the case of Ambassador Baños is something that we can't deny, because her voice will continue to ring out in every corner of this organization, anywhere where she has spoken out on behalf of democracy, defending multilateralism, her vision for human rights, her positions on behalf of gender equality and protection for children. The trajectory of Ambassador Baños here, as we've already heard, has left an undeniable impact on the Americas. And when she came to El Salvador and Panama during historic and complex times, and in the English-speaking Caribbean in Trinidad and Tobago, she has worked with 10 countries of the region, and this is a diplomatic effort that has benefited all of us. Ambassador Baños, as the DR delegation, we recognize your spirit for cooperation, openness for dialogue, and your ongoing support for strengthening spaces for coordination between our states, particularly initiatives that we have driven in order to shed light on the care economy and promoting women's autonomy in the Americas. Luz Helena, dear colleague, dear friend, thank you. Thank you for your wisdom, for supporting us and understanding the rigor of our work, and reminding us that we're not made of glass, reminding us that gender perspective is not just an appendage, but a way of understanding democracy itself, as we have heard from you so many times in this very permanent council. Thank you for your coherence, for the dignity with which you have defended each of your positions. Today, we wish you most success in the new chapter that you are beginning, and we are certain that wherever you may be, you will contribute to respecting human rights and equality. Thank you very much. Thank you to the Dominican Republic. Jamaica is recognized.
Very much, Mr. Chair. Distinguished Chair, Assistant Secretary General, Excellencies, alternates, members of the OAS Secretariat, and other distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, buenos dias. It is my honor on behalf of the delegation of Jamaica to pay tribute to an exemplary ambassador whose presence, leadership, and diplomacy have significantly enriched this organization. Let me also extend best wishes on behalf of Ambassador Anderson, who is currently on official travel. Ambassador, your tenure in Washington, D.C., and at this hemispheric table has been marked by clarity of purpose, a deep commitment to multilateralism, and an unwavering belief in the value of dialogue. You have brought to our deliberations not only the distinguished voice of Mexico, but also a spirit of partnership that reminded us that even in moments of differences, the Americas are strongest when we remain engaged with one another. Under your stewardship, Mexico's contribution to the work of the OAS, whether on development cooperation, human rights, education, multidimensional security, or the strengthening of democratic institutions, have been thoughtful, principled, and impactful. You have consistently encouraged us to look beyond the immediate and to ground our decision-making in long-term aspirations of our peoples. For the delegation of Jamaica, Your approachability and professionalism foster genuine collaboration. As you're seated next to us, you have been a very good neighbor. We valued your openness to listening and your readiness to build consensus, even in the most complex discussions. You reminded us that diplomacy is not simply the art of negotiation, but the practice of respect. As you prepare to return home and to continue your distinguished service to your country in other capacities, we extend our heartfelt appreciation for the manner in which you represented Mexico, a nation that has long been a steadfast friend and partner to the Caribbean and to the inter-American system. Ambassador Baños, you leave with our admiration, our gratitude, and our very best wishes. We hope that the friendship forged here will endure and that you will carry with you warm memories of your time with us at the OAS. On behalf of the delegation of Jamaica, please accept our sincere thanks for your service and our best wishes for continued success, good health, and fulfillment in all that lies ahead. Muchas gracias. Muchísimos.
Thank you very much. We wish you most success.
Journey be as successful and meaningful as the one we celebrate today. Que le vaya con Dios.
Thank you very much, Jamaica, for your intervention. Permanent Observer Mission of Spain is recognized. Thank you very much, Chair. On behalf of Spain and also on behalf of the Permanent Observer Missions of Italy, France, and the Holy See, we would like to add our voice to the expressions of farewell to the Ambassador of Mexico, Luz Helena Baños, who has always been able to faithfully and effectively represent the interests and positions of Mexico, a key country here at the OAS. Her contribution has also been key in strengthening the 4 pillars of this organization, that is democracy, human rights, integral development, and multidimensional security. I would also like to mention her close collaboration and ability in driving initiatives that are very relevant for the entire region. Her experience here at the OAS in mechanisms for FIFTA, the CSH, in migratory affairs have all been part of the special mission for Guatemala and others, and this reflects a robust, professional, and consistent management style. And if I may now speak personally, I'd like to recognize Luz Helena and her strong feminist principles. And I affectionately remember the first calls that I received back in the era of COVID when I had just arrived here in D.C., as well as our work together on the initiative discussing trafficking for sexual exploitation, where her determination allowed us to move forward in raising awareness on a phenomenon that more than ever has a women or girls face. And I am certain that the way that she raises her voice for women and girls, particularly those in situations of the greatest vulnerability, reflects, or will rather leave, a deep impact on this conversation. And with the bravery described by Grace Hopper in her phrase saying that a ship at port is always safe, but that's not what ships were built for. Ambassador Baños has never been afraid to sail in this multilateral forum with a feminist flag as she defends the rights of women and girls in all of their diversity, highlighting the Mexican feminist foreign policy. During this intense tenure here at the OAS, Luz Helena Baños has been a clear beacon for defending equality and women's and girls' rights. I will conclude, Ambassador Baños, as permanent observers of Spain, the Holy See, Italy, and France, we recognize your loyal dedication and the respectful and close way you've worked with all of us. We recognize your leadership, your knowledge, and your constant commitment to the inter-American system. Dear Luz Helena, we wish you the very best personally and most success in your new professional endeavors. And I will now conclude by stating that we can proudly say that you gave your very best, and we recognize that. Thank you very much. Thank you very much to Spain. And now I am honored to give the floor to Ambassador Baños. Ambassador Luz Helena, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, ambassadors, ladies and gentlemen, delegates, Assistant Secretary General, civil servants, and all staff of the OAS Mission of Mexico. I truly appreciate this item on the agenda today and each and every one of the very generous remarks on my performance. I truly appreciate them. I'm honored by your words. As a career diplomat that serves the Mexican state, the work that I've carried out in the last 6 years have focused on building an efficient multilateralism in defense of sovereignty and the national interest of Mexico with a holistic and future-looking view based on the constitutional principles of the foreign policy and the instructions of the head of state to serve President Claudia Sheinbaum and Mr. Obrador, totally devoted to national sovereignty and the defense thereof and social justice. It's been a high honor that has crystallized my patriotic and public service conviction to represent a nation that historically has heroically fought to be independent and sovereign, owner of its own destiny and its own decisions. These have marked my institutional responsibilities in this organization in the hemisphere. Under the guidance of the Mexican ministry, I have been able to strengthen fulfillment of the OAS, the principle of which are its pillars and are based on non-intervention. The quest for peace, international law as a way of behavior among states, cooperation, dialogue, the quest for consensus, and integral development as a relevant mandate. The nature, eminently political of the OAS is at the same time a privilege and an honor that I have had that is expressed in all of its actions and occupies a large part of its energy to conciliate and not to relegate to backstage, strengthening of national capacities and public policies of its member states. This work is alongside the four thematic pillars that we all know, related to strengthening democracy, human rights, integral development, and multidimensional security. These are pillars that Mexico has worked tirelessly to underscore and has offered shoring up multilateralism in the Americas. The work of Mexico and the OAS over the course of these last years has been solid, far-reaching, to have an organization that serves people and is based on human rights and dignity. My country firmly believes in dialogue and inclusive dialogue and has as a privileged multilateral instrument in the OAS, which makes us the fourth contributor to the fund, and use our generosity with voluntary contributions and generosity to have a large number of people working with us and to offer spaces that in Mexico give us an office of the OAS and the Pan American office, which underscores 100 years of working together. I truly appreciate my dear colleagues in the Permanent Mission of Mexico for their commitment, their professionalism, and their multilateral rigor. They realized the solid formation that we got in our diplomatic school and in doing the international work that we do throughout our life. Our knowledge and our technical discipline honor the good name of Mexico and makes our contribution to carrying out the national objectives to build an independent nation which is strong, peaceful, inclusive, and sovereign over and above everything else. Remember, colleagues, remember always that we represent a great country, and our conduct and our work is indelibly tied to its greatness. I continue to honor Mexico with words, but above all with acts. be honorable, be respectable representatives of the Mexican state. I truly appreciate President Sheinbaum for having distinguished me and honored me to be part of her team during her historic first year of administration, and in which, through her, women have arrived in the political space to exercise it in an ethical, humanistic, and way strictly linked to our sovereign state. Thanks to the ministry, Minister Roberto Velasco, head of the office, for his support, trust, and guidance, as well as thanks to all of the former ministers who have entrusted me with this task. Thanks to everyone. Thank you also to Ambassador David Montezuma for crystallizing the institutional fraternal relationship to strengthen the defense of our country. Just some words of sisterhood for women who work at the OAS, to the ambassadors, the women ambassadors, my sisters alongside me, and the delegates who give us an example and shed light on our work. A firm step, may they always be women's. As a woman, an internationalist, as a Mexican, as a career diplomat that serves the state, I truly appreciate all of the support offered to Mexico, my beloved, vibrant country that I have served with my knowledge, my energy, and my career with everyone, with true passion and professionalism. I would like to hand over the banner firmly to Ambassador Alejandra Encinas, and I wish her an excellent term for the good of our country. On the 6th of December, President Sheinbaum remembered in the main plaza of our country, the political heart of our country, the enormous value of the constitutional reform in Article 40 that says, and I quote, "The people of Mexico, under no circumstance, will accept interventions or any interference or any other act from abroad that hurts its integrity, independence, and sovereignty, such as coup d'etats, interference in elections, or any breach of our Mexican territory, be it via land, sea, or air." In short, Mexico is a free country, one that is independent and sovereign. We are neither a colony nor a protector of anyone. I close my comments, and I would like to underscore that the defense of sovereignty, in essence, is the crux of a diplomatic career and international law, and a norm for behavior among states. And that is why our work has always accorded high priority to this in the OAS as well as to human rights. Sovereignty is a precious, undeniable good, and that is why we reject any foreign intervention or the use of force in international relations. And we always honor our humanist and peace-loving vocation. To my colleagues, ambassadors, men and women alike, thank you for your open mind and your understanding. For those who have honored me with their friendship, I would like to leave them a white flower, as Samarti said in the poem. For all, I should like to leave with you my sincere thanks. I'm really a lucky person because I end this mission being even more of a patriot and more solid than when I arrived. The challenges strengthen my convictions, my approach, and my diplomatic abilities. Thank you very much for the intense shared life that we have had in this time. And in raising the national flag, I would like to bid all farewell with the words, and that is, as a Mexican diplomat, I can say from the bottom of my heart and soul, long live Mexico, long live Mexico, long live Mexico. My dear, thank you very much, Ambassador Baños. We express our recognition for your dedication, leadership, and the contributions you have carried out in this permanent council and for our organization. Once again, we wish you continued success, the best of fortune, and the greatest achievements in your future projects as a diplomat and also in your personal life. Moving on, let's move on to item 3 on the agenda today that has to do with the hemispheric commemoration of the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence of the United States of America. This next item on the agenda, in response to the request made by the United States delegation, leads us to listening to the presentation of the draft work plan for the commemoration, the hemispheric commemoration, I should say, of the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence of the United States of America, distributed to all delegations, and document CP INF 10704/25. Before proceeding with the presentation, and at the request of the delegation of the United States, I should like to give the floor to the representative of the United States for a brief introduction. Ambassador Risotto, you have the floor.
Ambassador, you have to turn on this.
Mr. Chair, distinguished representatives and colleagues, on behalf of the United States, I'm honored to introduce this agenda item concerning the implementation of AG Res. 3042 on the hemispheric commemoration of the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence of the United States of America. As delegations will recall, the United States has already circulated a draft work plan. We are grateful for the interest many of you have already shown, and we welcome this opportunity to present the work plan briefly and invite your ideas moving forward. This plan is intentionally framed as a platform for collaboration, not a fixed script. It proposes a series of activities that place America 250 firmly in an inter-American context, highlighting the shared history of independence, sovereignty, and self-governance that binds the Americas together. The plan identifies 5 main areas of activity. First, speaking events, including a high-level presentation and possible lecture series of the Americas, Lincoln's 1776, the 1826 Congress of Panama, and 2026, and encouraging discussion in this council of the evolution of democratic and republican traditions across our hemisphere. Second, cultural exhibitions working with the Art Museum of the Americas and cultural institutions from our member states to showcase independence, democracy, the rule of law, and artistic expressions of freedom. Third, educational programming and youth dialogues partnering with Washington-based universities and model OAS program to give students from across the hemisphere opportunities to reflect on how principles of 1776 and subsequent independent movements continue to shape our democracies today. Fourth, diplomatic and historical engagement, inviting delegations to participate in tours and events at Revolutionary Era and Pan American sites in Washington, D.C., and considering symbolic gestures linked to both America 250 and to the Panama's bicentennial of Congress. And fifth, communications and visibility connecting the ideals of the OAS Charter and the Inter-American Democratic Charter to the values articulated in 1776. I want to emphasize that all of these activities are designed to proceed without impact on the OAS regular fund. This work at OAS aligns with broader U.S. government efforts led by the White House Task Force on Celebration America's 250th birthday. Task Force 250, which is coordinating a full year of national commemorations between Memorial Day 2025 and July 4th, 2026. As the President has noted, the declaration signed by 56 individuals on a single sheet of parchment launched one of the great political journeys in human history. That journey, however, did not unfold in isolation. It was shaped by diplomacy, alliances, and ideas circulating throughout the Americas. Earlier this month, the President also marked the 200th anniversary of the Monroe Doctrine, recalling that the peoples of the Americas must be the ones who shape their own destiny in our region. That the principle of sovereignty and self-governance is not uniquely American, it's hemispheric, reflected in the struggles of Bolivar, San Martin, Juarez, and many others whose statues stand just outside this building. In that sense, America 250 is not only about the past, it's also about how we carry forward the unfinished work of democratic self-rule and how mutual respect amongst nations. The Declaration itself reminds us that before taking a great political decision, a people owe a decent respect to the opinions of mankind. Mr. Chair, the United States is approaching this commemoration through a broad ecosystem of partners. In addition to the Art Museum of the Americas and the Art in Embassies, we are working closely with institutions such as the National Museum of American Diplomacy, which will open a major exhibition in 2026. Among the powers of the earth, examining how diplomacy secured the United States' place in the international system. Together, these efforts underline a central truth. Independence was never a single event, but a process rooted in international recognition, negotiation, and cooperation. For today's agenda item, our focus is on the role of art and culture in expressing the shared values of the hemisphere. It is therefore my great pleasure to introduce our main speaker for this agenda item, Ms. Erin Elmore, Director of Art in Embassies at the United States Department of State. Following her presentation, Mr. Chair, we very much look forward to hearing the ideas and perspectives of...
Concédele 30 segundos para que pueda concluir el embajador Risuto, por favor.
30 seconds in order to conclude, Ambassador, please.
How we might collaborate to make this hemispheric a commemoration of truly shared. Thank you very much, and we welcome Ms. Elmore.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. To continue, I would like to greet and warmly welcome the Director of Art in the Embassies of the United States Department of State, Mrs. Erin Elmore, who is with us this morning. Director Elmore, welcome to the Permanent Council. You have the floor for 7 minutes.
Thank you. Good morning, Excellencies, friends, and distinguished permanent representatives of the Organization of American States. It is a pleasure to be with you today. Thank you for your continued dedication to the shared goals of our hemisphere. Speaking before you, all 35 independent countries of the Americas, is a true honor. So, our exhibition at your beautiful museum is called Art and Embassies, Passport to Patriotism. AMA grew from OAS's early cultural program and since 1976 has housed world-leading collections. And we also understand that it is the 50th anniversary of the museum, and we would like to explore a collaboration, and as you can see below, we have combined all of our logos, and that will appear on various branded materials throughout the museum and beyond in the city of Washington, D.C., and different media opportunities and digital and print publications. And there you can see one of our logos for Passport to Patriotism, 250 years of diplomacy. World-famous American artist who hails from Brazil, Romero Brito, created this beautiful design, and there's a passport and the 250 logo, and we would love to incorporate your 50-year logo as well. And just by way of introduction, my name is Erin Elmore, and I am the Director of Art and Embassies. And I am an attorney, a journalist, and a philanthropist, and I was given this role in January, and I am an attorney who graduated from Villanova Law School and went to the University of Miami in Florida with an undergraduate degree in journalism and political science. And I am pleased to be here before all of you once again and to serve in this wonderful capacity. For the exhibition, we have two curators. We have Brandon Ralph and Mark Lubell. Mr. Ralph is a photographer based in New York City and has an amazing book that I will make sure that we have here for you to all review and have as part of your permanent collection. It's The American Experiments. And Mark Lubell joined the International Center of Photography as executive director in November of 2013. He was previously the director of Magnum Photos, where he spearheaded the restructuring and history closely tied with the foundation of ICP, steering it into the 21st century. And they have been here and have toured the museum. They are utterly thrilled and impressed by the facility and are eager to work with all of you. So they both wrote a bit of an exhibition statement if you would like to read it here. But essentially their goal is to curate a collection of art that speaks to the values of the Art Museum of the America, the organization of American State, and being an American in general. And basically their themes are history, culture, land, artists, and again, we're working with Romero Brito, and that is one of his beautiful eagle flags, and another artist by the name of Brandon Murphy, who does large-scale sculpture and also art. And you can see, although it's a little bit un poquito, it's some very large spaceman sculptures and several other American artists to be announced soon. And that top flag in the middle block is one of Brandon Ralph, our curator's flags, and that really doesn't do it justice. They're extremely large scale, almost paper mache in nature, three-dimensional, waving like the American flag does, and on the back, various different American icons, whether it's George Washington or copies of the Declaration of Independence, and if you shine a bright light upon it, it can sort of bleed through, and it is now hanging one of those in the White House at the Deputy Chief of Staff's office, and Marco Rubio, who we love very much, our Secretary of State, he liked it so much that he asked for one to be commissioned for him, and he has one in his office as well. So for celebration and events, sorry for the rogue S there, we want to work with all of you to not only have grand opening parties, but to host your ambassadors and dignitaries and notable figures from your home countries for personalized tours and events and VIP soirees. We also would like to engage in children's educational programming with my colleagues Jenny Paradell and Nicola Versus over there that will be happy to work with all of you, bringing not only the adults but the children so they have a very unique and curated experience. And we would love to partner on social media endeavors, press promotions, and any sort of media tours that would be of interest to you. And there they are. So our strategic partners at the American Arts Conservancy are Jenny Parado and Nicola Versus, and they are just absolute powerhouses in this world, and Jenny was just awarded the Venice Biennale, which is the Olympics of art, so she is going to be spearheading that amazing opportunity, but we'll still be making time away from Venice to make sure that our museum, which begins, our time at the museum begins in July. So these two will be working closely with you as well, and I just admire their dedication, and I'm humbled and honored that they have chosen to given their time to us. And they will be, again, doing cultural and educational programming, whether it's coloring books or interactive experiences that will be great for children, but also for the whole family. Now, there are so many museums in Washington, D.C., but this one has the unique being distinguished as closest to the White House, which is very special. We want to be our own and have our own identity. You know, if you want to see modern art, you can go to the Hirshhorn or the Rubel. And if you want to see the great works of the Smithsonian, you obviously have that wonderful opportunity. We want to be unique and special, and working with all of you to achieve that objective is something that's extremely important to all of us. And I believe I didn't exceed my time. So thank you very much once again for having me, and thank you for all of the powerful, impactful, and great work that you do. And thank you to Ambassador Rizzuto for having me here today. I'm just beyond grateful for the opportunity and can't wait to work with all of you.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Thank you very much for also sticking to the time. Now, moving on, I should like to give the floor to delegations who might like to make comments on this particular point on the agenda. Paraguay, you have the floor. Please turn your microphone on, Ambassador. Thank you. I'm sorry about that. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. The delegation of Paraguay truly appreciates the presentation and the draft work plan on the commemoration in the hemisphere of the 250 years of the Declaration of Independence of the United States of America. This is prepared by the Distinguished Permanent Mission of the United States. For my country, this commemoration really has a deep historical meaning behind it. The independence of the United States is recognized influence by many independent spearheaders in our region and significantly led to the formation of our Republican countries and the development of our institutions thereafter. This anniversary also offers us a valuable opportunity to reflect on the ideals of freedom, equality, and democracy, which guided the delegates who met in Philadelphia in 1776. These same principles continue to inspire all of us today and guide our commitment with peaceful coexistence, institutional respect, and cooperation amongst countries of the Americas. And as such, we would like to underscore the excellent historic relations that have brought together Paraguay and the United States of America, characterized by a constructive dialogue and constant cooperation in different spheres of common interests. Mr. Chairman, Paraguay expresses its support to this project and full willingness to cooperate with the United States and other member states in preparing and carrying out all of the activities to commemorate this time. We trust that this initiative will contribute to strengthen the spirit of understanding, friendship, and solidarity that distinguishes the work of our organization. Thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. Paraguay, Mexico has the floor. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. The delegation of Mexico would like to greet and take due note of the words of the Ambassador Rizzuto and Mrs. Elmore that have to do with all of the preparation for the commemoration of the 250 years of the anniversary of the Declaration of Independence of their country, a date which underscores the value of independence, sovereignty, and aspirations of all peoples to build their own destinies. This occasion also invites us to reflect on the legacy of the democratic project of the United States and its impact in international order, and to recognize that the United States, through its own institutional development, the advance of its civil rights, the consolidation of fundamental freedoms, and the international promotion of human rights, has contributed at different times to spearhead standards that have inspired strengthening democracy and protecting human rights in the hemisphere. Mexico recognizes its contributions as well as those that have to do with economic development, scientific and technological development in the region and throughout the world, with a spirit of dialogue, respect, and cooperation. The bilateral relationship between Mexico and the United States is an historic relationship founded on geographic commonness and interaction, economic and cultural human profile. With different realities, we are interconnected, and we recognize the strategic value of upholding open, respectful, and constructive communication to strengthen our common agendas, which go over and above those established by governments, because the meeting of our peoples has gone beyond that. Mexico has the largest number of United States citizens abroad, and in the United States, the largest number of Mexicans live as well. We reaffirm our willingness to continue to work with the United States, and this is a relationship that benefits our people based on the constitutional principles of our foreign policy and guided by the principles of President Claudia Sheinbaum, with shared responsibility, trust, and mutual respect. Respect for the sovereignty and territorial integrity, and cooperation without any subordination. Ambassador Rizzuto and Mrs. Elmore, know that you have the support of Mexico to accompany all of the activities of the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence of the United States. Our country is a partner, and this unites us in a destiny that unites us with more than 300,000 border areas and daily effects. This will unite us forever. Thank you very much. El Salvador has the floor.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you very much to the Permanent Mission of the United States for presenting the working plan for the hemispheric commemoration of the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence of the United States. These cultural and academic activities proposed cultivate identity in our people, and they build diplomatic ties between our states. In particular, we underscore cooperation to be developed with the Art Museum of the Americas, the Lecture of the Americas, and also democratic traditions that will be driven through the model OAS GA. And this does have added value with participation from our youth. We do believe that commemorating our history with specific activities for cultural diplomacy, in addition to paying tribute to our shared history, also make it possible for us to renew our commitment to democratic, collective cooperation to benefit everyone in the hemisphere. Finally, as a co-sponsor of the resolution on that commemoration, I would like to reiterate our willingness to take part and contribute actively in fulfilling these proposed initiatives. Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you, El Salvador. Canada, please. Thank you, Chair. Canada would like to congratulate the United States very warmly as we commemorate the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence and Activity Plan. And this is a unique opportunity for us to pay tribute to the entire trajectory of the United States and its history as they forged a more prosperous, inclusive future for everyone.
Geography is destiny. The USA was the first independent country in our hemisphere and so played a unique role in shaping our collective history. The 250th anniversary is an occasion to reflect on how its independence has shaped shared ideas and inter-American aspirations, and on the enduring values of democracy, freedom, and partnership that have shaped our shared history. Along the way, Canada and the United States have shared together and stood together as friends and allies, working to advance peace and prosperity in the region and across the globe. Canada values the proposed activities that will promote mutual understanding, cultural exchange, and the historical reflection as we work to deepen our respect and admiration of the similarities and differences that shape our inter-American identity. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Gracias, Canadá.
Thank you to Canada. And Uruguay is recognized. Thank you very much, Chair. Also, thank you very much to Ambassador Rizzuto for your intervention and presenting the working plan for the hemispheric commemoration of the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence of the United States. And we believe that this is a very valuable opportunity to continue strengthening ties of friendship that bind our countries, promote reflection, culture, and art in all of their expressions, and also deepen hemispheric cooperation. In 1815, that is 210 years ago, the United States and General Artigas, the protector of the free peoples, signed the first treaty for free trade in the Americas. For various reasons, the federal project then fell apart, but The United States and its independence was already present with General Artigas, and we celebrate this opportunity to celebrate activities contained in the plan, and that includes cultural exhibits, academic activities, and above all, support for the Museum of Art of the Americas, which we certainly celebrate, and also the willingness of the Uruguayan delegation to take part in these joint events with permanent missions as we commemorate the activities as announced. With that in mind, we're fully willing to work with these activities to be carried out in the framework of the commemoration, thereby contributing to coordination with other states in this initiative. We'd also like to take this opportunity to highlight that our Captain Miranda in the coming year has planned a series of stops in the United States. This is our study ship that includes in the United States to take part in activities linked to the 250th anniversary of independence of the United States, to take part with the Navy. This is a cultural symbolic step. It's part of our commitment from Uruguay to the values that we are celebrating, as well as with the close historic ties between our peoples. The activities plan will be a contribution to creating a new legacy for the OAS and also promoting our values. Thank you very much. Thank you very much to Uruguay. The DR is recognized. Thank you very much, Chair. The Dominican delegation would like to thank Ambassador Rizzuto, and we are delighted with the initiative that he has presented to commemorate the 250th anniversary of the U.S. Declaration of Independence. This opportunity is greatly valuable because it provides us with a space to continue exploring activities that are cultural, educational, and in nature and exchange, and reflect on the principles of freedom, independence, and democratic representation, which certainly inspire the inter-American system and are enshrined in the OAS Charter. The coming year, we will be holding commemorative spaces which are particularly relevant with the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence and the bicentennial of the Amphitryon Conference in 1825 held in Panama City, and both are great opportunities for promoting collective reflection on the political evolution of our hemisphere and the historic impact that these processes have had in our democracies. We also observe with great interest the contributions that can lead to initiatives of this type, and against this backdrop, we remind you that for the bicentennial of the United States in 1976, we founded the Art Museum of the Americas, and this was a significant event which reflects the tradition of the organization in promoting culture and institutional dialogue. Today, the museum continues to play a fundamental role as the oldest modern art museum dedicated to Latin America in the United States, promoting the identity of the Americas and artistic expression in our hemisphere. Chair, my delegation has taken due note of the thematic areas suggested in the working plan, particularly those aimed at promoting debate on democratic traditions, as well as exhibits and cultural activities in coordination with the Art Museum of the Americas. The DR also recognizes the value of taking part in this with civil society, academic, artistic, and educational, as well as youth organizations in commemorative acts that mark the cross-cutting and historic nature of these events. Ambassador Rizzuto, please count on our full collaboration and support from the DR to ensure most success in this working plan in this very important commemoration for the United States. Thank you very much. Thank you to the DR. Argentina, please. Chair, thank you very much to Ambassador Rizzuto for his intervention. Warm greetings to your wife, who's here with you today. Also, thank you to Ms. Erin Elmore for her presentation. As we all know, both the French Revolution as well as the American Revolution were beacons that lit the way for the construction of our Republican form of government. And we just look at the matrix of our national constitution, and that's enough to show just how important that reference was in the American Constitution. We believe that cultural diplomacy is a strong and effective tool for sharing values and transmitting those values. And in the Americas, we see that there are tensions and hot spots, but this is a great opportunity for us to highlight our shared values beyond any differences we may have. Argentina will be, or is actually today, Chair, celebrating 42 years since we returned to democracy. I can reiterate that this is the longest period of democracy in our history without any interruptions, and this is a very important moment in our history, particularly for those of us who have had a generational commitment against dictatorial processes and in favor of turning toward democracy, respecting the values and human rights as well as fundamental freedoms enshrined in our national constitution. Many lessons have been learned for our people. Many, I may say. Many lessons have been learned for sharing. We still commit many mistakes. There's still many lessons to be learned. But I believe that this plan that has been shared by the American delegation can be an excellent opportunity for all democratic processes in our continent so that we can share the lessons learned. We can recognize any shortcomings and any needs to continue learning those lessons, and also find a way to come back together based on these shared values of democracy beyond any differences we may have. I always say that we need to try and build unity in diversity, and obviously unity certainly is going to be much more what brings us together with democratic charter than those who do not respect the democratic charter. We need to build this space for cooperation, working hand in hand, and this is an excellent opportunity. If I may, Ambassador, the Argentine delegation will be part of these activities any way that we can contribute on behalf of the entire inter-American system. Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you to Argentina. Thank you, Chair. The Republic of Panama would like to extend its warmest congratulations to the United States of America and Ambassador Leandro Rizzuto for presenting the working plan for the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. This historic milestone is celebrating not just the trajectory of one nation, but democratic values and our commitment to freedom, which have inspired so many people worldwide. Similarly, we express our recognition to the U.S. Department of State for its leadership and dedication in organizing this commemoration. It's so relevant for the American people and also for the entire international community. And thank you very much to Ms. Erin Elmore for sharing this. Panama will certainly be supporting the United States in celebrating this very meaningful anniversary. And we also remind you that next year our country will be celebrating 200 years since the Antipatriotic Conference in Panama, which was one of the fundamental moments in building unity and hemispheric cooperation driven by Liberator Simón Bolívar. With that spirit of friendship, history, shared vision toward the future, we reiterate our best wishes for most success for all activities that will be part of this memorable celebration. Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you very much, Ecuador. On behalf of the Republic of Ecuador, thank you very much to the representative of the Permanent Mission of the United States of America. This commemoration is a great contribution that we were hoping for in building this culture of integration. It's only through knowing one another can we get closer to one another and grow in our historic ties. There is a saying that I really like. It says, "A small rebellion is good every now and again." Who said that? Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson said that. And he was able to wield that historic change. Those first founding fathers taught us the great value of ethics, building a great nation. They have left us with robust federalism. They have left us with values that we are all dedicated to building and improving for democracy. Culture is very welcome, and this is the only place where we can integrate. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ecuador. And thank you to all of the other delegations for their interventions. I suggest that the Permanent Council take due note of everyone's interventions as noted in the record of this session. If there are no objections, it's hereby adopted. Next item on the order of business. Following the request made by the Secretary General pursuant to the mandate from Resolution 1667 from the General Assembly, we now will be receiving a presentation of the report from the Inter-American Institute on Children and Adolescents on measures undertaken by member states to fight sexual exploitation of children and adolescents in the Americas. Sexual exploitation of children and adolescents in the digital environment. This was distributed to all delegations as document CP/INF.1076-1/25. With that in mind, I would like to salute and give the floor to Ms. Maria Julia Garcete, the Director General of the Inter-American Institute of Children and Adolescents, the INN. Director Garcete, welcome back to the Permanent Council, and I give you the floor virtually. Thank you very much, Chair, Ambassador Tomas Pascual Rique, and warm greetings to the ASG, Ambassador Laura Hill, to the distinguished representatives of member states. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I would like to give you very special thanks for the opportunity to present this report from the IIN in light of being a specialized body focusing on the human rights of children and adolescents, which are 30% of the population in our region. And as already mentioned, this responds to a mandate stemming from the General Assembly and is an exercise of collective responsibility in the face of a problem that calls on all of us as a region, that is sexual exploitation and other forms of sexual violence associated with sexual exploitation which take place online. The aim is to highlight the status of the situation and responses implemented by various states based on information provided officially by 11 member states, which are Brazil, Canada, Colombia, Costa Rica, Chile, Ecuador, El Salvador, Jamaica, Mexico, Panama, and Peru. These are all representing all of the subregions of the Americas, and this allows us to share a comprehensive comparative vision of this situation. And the findings are enough to call us all to action. I'm not going to get into too many details in the interest of time, but I am going to share some recommendations. First of all, we note that the existing information systems are fragmented and lack interconnection. This makes it very difficult to trace cases and build accurate diagnostics. This is a limitation that leads to partial data, and it's impossible to exactly measure the impact of digital technology in the occurrence of this type of violence. Secondly, we also observe a significant increase in reports that come as a trend since the beginning of the pandemic period as a variable since 2023, where girls, particularly between 13 and 17 years of age, are the main victims. And platforms such as WhatsApp, Facebook, and Instagram are identified as the spaces most frequently used in these situations that are being detected. This data reminds us all that as much as connectivity is an important tool for inclusion, it can also be turned into a space for risk when we do not have sufficient protection and guardrails. Though we have seen progress when it comes to adjusting legal frameworks and creating mechanisms for reporting, we do see gaps when it comes to cooperation from the private sector. And indeed, the specialized units are facing an overload of cases. They lack the human and technological resources necessary, and they also need ongoing training. When it comes to prevention, content on digital citizenship and risks online are addressed in school environments, but not systematically, and nothing has been institutionalized. Training teachers and families is often limited to awareness campaigns that don't actually translate into any formal educational activities or objectives. Finally, when it comes to ensuring rights and social reintegration, states have general responses, but they lack any specialized mechanisms that would specifically address the type of damage that's caused by sexual violence online. The participation of children and adolescents in establishing policies is scanty and, in most cases, limited to advisory opportunities without any actual incidence on decision-making. In the face of this snapshot that I'm sharing with all of you, we propose the following recommendations in order to strengthen government responses. First of all, we need to integrate information systems that connect the various administrative registries to allow for more complete diagnostic studies, harmonize public policies, and ensure the incorporation of the children's rights perspective in any digital transformation and cybersecurity agenda. We need to move forward toward regulatory reform that is specifically when it comes to the various modes of sexual violence that takes place online, promote active participation from children and adolescents, moving from consultations to actually having a real impact on establishing policies. There are so many others that you will find in the report. Ladies and gentlemen, sexual exploitation online is a threat that knows no borders, and it requires coordinated, robust, sustained activities. It's not enough to simply react in the face of cases that we see. We need to anticipate, prevent, and ensure safe online spaces for our children and teens, and this is a challenge that requires political will, international cooperation, and intersectoral commitment. From the IIN OAS, we reiterate our willingness to supporting states along these lines and providing technical assistance, promoting the exchange of best practices, and building knowledge that will guide our decision-making. But this effort will only be effective if it actually translates into concrete, sustainable actions that place protection and the well-being of children and adolescents at the very heart of what they do. Today, more than ever, I invite you to redouble your efforts and your will, because we need to go beyond our comfort zones and business as usual, because the safety of our children cannot wait, because every single day that goes by without an effective response is a day where children's fundamental freedoms are being violated. And above all, in order to ensure safe digital environments is guaranteeing the future of our societies. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Director Garcete, for your presentation. And now I'll give the floor to the delegations that would like to speak to this item on the order of business, starting with Uruguay. Thank you very much, Chair, and also thank you very much to Ms. Garcete for that very complete report that she has shared with regard to fighting this scourge and the activities that we should adopt as member states. Uruguay from the is part of the IIN, and recently the chair of our Institute of Children, Claudia Romero, was elected chair of the committee that runs this institute. We greatly value, in particular, the emphasis on the impact of the digital environment in this issue, given the scope of the activities allowed by new technology. And though we have seen great benefits arising from that development, we are deeply concerned with the fact that they have been broadly used in order to promote contact that facilitates sexual exploitation of children. Sexual exploitation for commercial ends of children and teens is one of the most extreme forms of sexual violence, and it's carried out in contexts impacted by inequality, gender, and national and other forms of inequality. As noted by the Institute, many of these victims of sexual violence and sexual exploitation are girls. However, we also note that this gap between girls and boys is lower than when it comes to other types of sexual violence, which underscores the need to have a comprehensive response. Uruguay, as other countries included in the country, have verified a significant spike in the use of ICT in crimes related to sexual exploitation of children. Indeed, 42% of the reports referring to sexual exploitation involve the use of technology. That includes ICT. And as an institutional response, Uruguay created the Cybercrime Unit under our Attorney General's office, which is responsible for criminally investigating these cases, as well as protecting the victims. And we have our third plan for eradicating sexual exploitation for commercial ends of children, including a review and regulatory harmonization in order to ensure that digital environments are safe, as well as eradicating violence online through effective policies and other measures. Chair, our country has a regulatory framework that is robust and aimed at providing protection for victims. We have ratified the Convention on the Rights of Children and its protocol on sexual exploitation of children, as well as the use of children in pornography. We also criminalize and penalize commercial sexual exploitation of children, and that includes sexual exploitation in all of its forms under the definition of sexual trafficking and exploitation. We've also created a specific institute to address this, the Committee for Eradicating Sexual Commercial Exploitation of Children and Teens. Along the same lines, the Parliament, with a vote from all political parties, adopted raising to 18 the minimum age for marriage. This new law was already adopted in our Parliament, and it is a step toward reiterating the protection for teens and children in our country, ensuring that we are in line with international standards aimed at promoting child marriage and its social consequences. We recognize the advancements achieved, but we also face major challenges that require sustained coordinated action. We greatly value the report presented today, which is an example and provides us with concrete steps toward best practices to continue working on this issue in our region, and we salute the content of the report, as well as those linked to participation of actual children and teens in studying the problem and incorporating the perspective of children's rights, literacy, and digital literacy. We also are committed to continuing to strengthen public policies aimed at protecting children and adolescents and ensuring full exercise of their rights. Thank you very much. Thank you to Uruguay. Colombia is recognized. Thank you very much, Chair. Warm greetings to Maria Julia Garcete, who is the director of the IIN, and also thank you very much for presenting this report. Colombia was an active participant in that through contributions from the Colombian Institute for Family Welfare. And in Colombia, the commercial sexual exploitation of children and teens online is one of the most serious and urgent threats for children's rights in our region. We see this as a form of gender-based sexual violence, which is expanded through activities such as extortion, grooming, and also creating sexual exploitation material online. And therefore, we have made it a priority as we incorporate the digital aspect of this in our public policies aimed at comprehensive protection. We have laws that establish obligations for tech providers, mechanisms for blocking illegal content, and clear sanctions in the face of violations. We also have standards on digital safety in children with the adoption of public policies such as Line 18 of 2018 for presenting and eradicating sexual and commercial sexual exploitation. And this has created tools for preventing, caring for, and effectively sanctioning those who profit from this very serious violation. When it comes to government coordination, we have moved forward with consolidating interinstitutional spaces in Colombia that allow us to provide a more timely and coordinated response. We know that international cooperation is indispensable here. That is why Colombia has driven partnerships with tech platforms, multilateral bodies, as well as neighboring countries. Among those partnerships, we underscore initiatives aimed at promoting digital citizenship, preventing online exploitation, institutional training, and protecting children and teens in context of human mobility. We have spaces such as the tripartite Amazon front border with Brazil and Peru, and also cooperation with Brazil to share lessons learned in the face of transnational crimes. In the area of prevention and participation, we have been implemented national strategies to promote digital education, work with communities, as well as social mobilization. These initiatives recognize children and teens as the drivers of their own future, protecting their progressive autonomy and ability to identify, report risks online. All of our activities incorporate a differentiated territorial approach as well as a gender approach and looking at the life cycle to ensure adapted, appropriate responses that reflect the linguistic and cultural reality of our country. We reiterate today our strong commitment to protecting children's safety. Thank you very much.
Colombia tiene la palabra Estados Unidos.
Thank you very much, Colombia. United States has the floor.
Mr. Chair, Madam Director General, the United States 19th American Children's Institute and Director General Gacete for this report on sexual exploitation of children and adolescents in digital environments. We also recognize the 11 member states that contributed responses and case information. This report confirms what we all see. Our children are increasingly at risk online. Criminals use familiar platforms, instant messaging, social media, and gaming to groom, extort, and exploit minors, often across borders and with devastating consequences. Girls aged 13 to 17 remain particularly vulnerable, but no child is immune. Under President Trump, the United States has made protecting children a priority for our national security. That is why our government created the post of Special Envoy for Best Future Generations, and why Special Envoy Charles Harder chose the Inter-American Children's Institute for his first overseas mission this past October. In Honduras, Special Envoy Harder joined many of your governments at the 99th meeting of the INND Direct Council under the theme Childhood Unites Us. He emphasized 4 pillars: quality education in every community, school meals that keep children in school, and improve nutrition, schools as safe spaces that shield children from gangs, trafficking, and criminal recruitment, and basic health services in schools such as vision and hearing screenings, delivered with full respect for parental rights. His message was clear: when children are safe in school, learning, nourished, and healthy, they are less vulnerable to exploitation described in this report, online or offline. These investments also strengthen families and communities, reduce the drivers of illegal immigration, and contribute to a more prosperous and secure hemisphere. At home, the United States continues to prosecute traffickers, smugglers, and online predators through initiatives such as Project Safe Childhood and Operation Predator. We're strengthening requirements for online platforms to report suspected child sexual exploitation, preserve evidence, and cooperate with law enforcement while insisting on strong privacy safeguards and due process. We value parental rights and responsibilities and support tools that help parents protect their children in the digital environment. From this report, we see several priorities for our work together. First, better data and detection. Too many cases go unreported or lost in fragmented systems. We support practical efforts to share referral pathways, common definitions, and effective coordination models without creating new bureaucracy or unfunded mandates. Second, stronger public-private cooperation. Technology companies and service providers must do more to identify, report, and remove child sexual abuse and material and other exploitive contents. Governments should set clear expectations, and law and platforms should respond quickly and responsibly. Third, integrated protection systems. Education, justice, health, and social services must work together so that a child in danger does not fall through the cracks. Schools can be powerful hubs for prevention, detection, and support. Fourth, meaningful and safeguarded youth participation. As we saw in Honduras, adolescents can offer clear, practical ideas on how to make online and offline spaces safer. Their participation must be voluntary and informed with strong protection and parental consent measures, and it must inform real policy improvements, not just speeches and photos. Finally, we cannot separate the discussion from the broader crisis facing children across our region, including in Haiti. When violence and instability close schools and displace families, children become more vulnerable to traffickers and online exploitation. As we work together in the OAS and the UN and other forums to support Haitian-led path to stability and peace, child protection and school continuity must remain central. Colleagues, the children of the Americas cannot wait. The United States will continue to work with any government, organization, or partner that is serious about measurably reducing exploitation and abuse, strengthening families, and giving every child in this hemisphere the chance to grow up safe, educated, and healthy and free from fear from online and offline. I'd like to just add one additional point, which is we have within our own halls various human rights organization, Inter-American Human Rights Organization, that we could share and take data and utilize data to help this cause as well. So the more we collaborate, not just on a hemispheric level, but within our own organization, I think more we could do to solve this problem and contribute to helping, many victims and families. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and we look forward to working with all of you.
Thank you very much, United States. Chile has the floor. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. We truly appreciate the presentation made by the DG of the Inter-American Children's Institute. We also appreciate the entire team at the Institute for their dedication and commitment for the future of our region. Mr. Chairman, first, we underscore the decision of the Institute to deepen knowledge and analysis of sexual exploitation of children and adolescents in digital environments. This survey of the state of play of the situation and the measures that states have taken are a relevant point of departure to know how we can better confront sexual violence and sexual exploitation that our children and adolescents are subjected to. We truly value that 11 states of the region have already participated here, but we believe that it's still possible to have more participation. As far as we are concerned, implementation by Chile has been implemented by the state and the Defense of Children's Defense. As reflected in the report, Chile has grappled with the situation from the standpoint of prevention as well as from the standpoint of protection of our children and adolescents. And in this regard, then, we would like to inform this council that in addition to the acts reflected in the report, right now there is a bill for violence against children too, introducing measures such as criminalization of any discussion or intimate discussion which is received with consent but shared without authorization. The creation of a crime of physical or virtual harassment, including unsolicited and with sexual connotation. Criminalization of doxing, that is the publication of personal data to facilitate third parties to come in and instigate things. The use of defamatory deepfake, especially when it has sexual content. The extortion, when it is used expressly, a new catalog of aggregating facts and new precautionary measures that lead to the elimination of these kinds of social media when we're talking about content that has sexual implications. Mr. Chairman, the advance in technology has some advantages and some challenges as well that lead us to look at this situation in a new way. We have to be available to cooperate, and we are available to cooperate for measures that will protect our children and adolescents. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chile. Paraguay has the floor. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. The delegation of Paraguay truly appreciates the report presented by the DG of the Inter-American Institute for Children and Adolescents. Our dear compatriot Mrs. Garceta Egro on sexual exploitation of children and adolescents in digital environments gave the presentation. We recognize the efforts made by Mrs. Garcete and all the staff of the Institute for having drafted this document, which broaches a topic of utmost importance in our societies. The notable increase of children, boys and girls alike, and adolescents as users in the digital environment, particularly as of the last 10 years, on the one hand, tallies with the need to have digital literacy for our new generations for their own development. But on the other hand, it leads to risks and challenges that require ongoing attention by the state and the institutions that are involved. In this regard, then, Paraguay has been successful in Law 6002 as of 2017, which criminalizes in the criminal code the fact of sexual abuse against children, boys and girls alike, through technological means, as well as the recent approval of Law 7549 this year, 2025, that has the obligation to conserve data to avoid infantile or child pornography and associated acts. These standards represent decisive standards in the fight against one of the most noxious crimes against human dignity when it comes to children and adolescents in digital environments. And as such, then, with a view to establishing a legislative framework for prevention and restitution of rights violated in keeping with the principle of the interests and rights of children, the Ministry of Children and Adolescents is working on a draft for full-fledged protection of children and adolescents in digital environments. The delegation of Paraguay reiterates its thanks to the Inter-American Institute for Children and Adolescents for the report that was presented, and we hope that we will continue to broach this topic in this organization. It is a very sensitive topic for our hemisphere. This would be to identify possibilities for cooperation amongst our member states and other international players to eradicate this scourge and to protect the dignity of children and adolescents. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Paraguay. Canada has the floor. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. We truly appreciate the comments and for the presentation on this agenda, which is very important for all of us. The exploitation of children and adolescents is vile and is ongoing. Unfortunately, in an increasing criminal world, goes beyond borders. We recognize this and the negative impact that takes place. Canada by itself, as of 2022, has looked at exploitation of children and has looked at the majority of victims. And now in English.
Sexual exploitation, and has made significant investments in developing and implementing a national strategy for the protection of children from sexual exploitation on the internet. This strategy is carried out in close collaboration with international partners and through engagement with the digital industry to raise awareness and find effective solutions to combat online child sexual exploitation. Among its key objectives, Canada's national strategy enhances programs and supports services for victims and survivors, while supporting law enforcement capacity to investigate and prevent those crimes. Concrete measures include a national tip line for reporting suspected cases of online sexual abuse and exploitation of children, and Project Arachnid, an initiative designed to disrupt the proliferation of child sexual abuse material online. Together with many OAS member states, other countries, 25 technology companies, and 30 civil society organizations, Canada participates in the We Protect Global Alliance, promoting and supporting the adoption of the principles at a global level to drive collective industry action. We are also a founding member of the We Protect Global Task Force, which is part of the We Protect Global Alliance, as I mentioned. The task force seeks to establish a network of countries dedicated to combating child sexual exploitation and abuse online that will work to facilitate political leadership, coordination, and capacity building among member countries. We encourage others to join us in this global endeavor. Canada also engages in international efforts to address technology-facilitated gender-based violence, including through financial support to the Making All Spaces Safe program implemented by UNFPA. This program seeks to ensure that women and girls in all their diversity can enjoy the benefits of technology without fear of gender-based violence, including online sexual exploitation. It includes prevention efforts by increasing digital literacy and safety skills, particularly for adolescents and young people. To conclude, Chair, Canada continues its unwavering commitment at home and abroad to protecting children from the profound harm of online sexual exploitation. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Canada. St. Lucia has the floor.
Thank you, Chair. We express appreciation to the Director General of the Inter-American Children's Institute for the report. According to a new UNICEF regional research, children throughout the Caribbean are subjected to coercion, bogus employment offers via social media, online grooming, and other forms of digital exploitation. Considering the vulnerabilities caused by poverty and, in some cases, a lack of supervision, children and adolescents fall prey to sexual exploitation and other forms of abuse, either from caregivers or strangers. This situation is further compounded by the widespread use of digital technology and online communication, which makes grooming, coercion, and trafficking much easier. The government of St. Lucia, under the leadership of the Honorable Philip J. Pierre, affirms that safeguarding children is a fundamental national obligation. We note the many forms of online sexual exploitations and believe that the internet must never become a haven for predators or a marketplace where innocent people are exploited. As such, St. Lucia is actively strengthening its institutional, technological, and legal responses. Together with current child protection laws, our national system for the comprehensive protection of children and adolescents, the Child Rights Advisory and Observatory Mechanism, and the National Child Protection Steering Committee, a thrust towards a victim-centered response, early detection, reporting, and prevention is currently underway. These mechanisms have fostered a collaborative effort among social workers, law enforcement, education, and healthcare partners. These collaborations will ensure that adequate conversations are held to sensitize children, adolescents, and the communities on online dangers and to seek support when needed. We are continuously reviewing our laws to ensure that they remain aligned with evolving international norms and the evolving realities of cybercrime. We reaffirm our commitment to the Sustainable Development Goals, the Convention on the Rights of the Child, and its optional protocols, especially those pertaining to justice, digital safety, and child protection. St. Lucia is unwavering in its commitment to the belief that no child should be exploited, no child should be silenced, and no digital platform should be exempt from accountability, justice, and protection. We remain committed to collaborating with local, regional, and international partners to ensure that children have access to opportunities in the digital realm, opportunities that will empower them, improve their lives, create positive social connections, develop platforms for creativity and self-expression, and participate in conversations that address their safety and well-being. St. Lucia has a zero tolerance for any form of abuse and exploitation within the digital realm is no exception. We remain committed to protecting our children and adolescents. Thank you, Chair.
Muchas gracias, St.
Thank you very much, St. Lucia. Brazil has the floor. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Brazil truly appreciates the DG from the Inter-American Children's Institute, Maria Julia Garcetti, for her report. We reiterate our appreciation of the Institute's work, and we're very satisfied that Brazil is amongst the 11 countries that contributed to draft this document. As of 2008, Brazil has a partnership to end violence against children, and we have taken on a commitment to develop all-encompassing multi-sectoral programs which are aligned to the international parameters in the Convention on the Rights of Children. In this process, we underscore the participatory actions of our national policies, which have been put together focused on rights of children and adolescents. Commenda, a body which is a deliberative body that brings together the government, civil society, and particularly relevant representatives who are adolescents. The exponential growth of the presence of children and adolescents in the digital environment has with it public policy challenges. Integral protection of this population in the face of risks in the visual space leads us to governmental action which is founded on the rights in our Constitution by the Statute of Children and Adolescents of 1990 and more recently by the Digital Statute for Children and Adolescents passed in 2025. This last statute stipulates a normative all-encompassing framework to prevent and deal with virtual violence. It determines that producers that provide policies move towards prevention for victims and promote educational environments or educational programs. We also have mechanisms for denunciation, removal of offensive content with regards to or that fly in the face of due process, in addition to the quarterly transportation on transparency and moderation of content and risk management. As we heard in the report from the IIN, in addition to the digital statute, other measures implemented by Brazil should be underscored. In 2024, we had a national assessment of sexual exploitation online. This is the fruit of the cooperation between UNDP and Brazil. From the United Nations, we had detailed analyses of institutional governance, the justice system, and responsibility of the private sector in mechanisms that prioritize victims. These document looks at technical aspects to make public policies a priority. Brazil also has essential instruments for protection, such as a channel 100 received denunciations, including sexual violations and other crimes perpetrated online. These denunciations are led to the competent bodies, such as the main organs, the specialized delegacies and police stations and social service organizations. And in addition to that, the ombudsman looks at regions that are difficult to access and to protect children and adolescents as well as their communities. I should also like to mention the children and adolescents who have participated in a guide of digital devices that cover digital devices in participation with 7 ministries and UNESCO. The document offers practical guidance and based on scientific evidence approaching the digital well-being, online citizenship, and risks associated to algorithms and an economy of attention, in addition to prevention of cyberbullying through media education, family education, the promotion of safe digital environments. Brazil reaffirms then its firm commitment to totally protect children and adolescents. We will continue to strengthen our policies and to improve regional cooperation and adopt effective measures to deal with sexual exploitation in digital environments, putting safety and dignity of boys and girls center front of all that we do. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Brazil. Guatemala has the floor. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Guatemala truly appreciate the presentation of the report given to us by Mrs. Garcete, the DG of Inter-American Children's Interest, and we truly appreciate this topic, sexual exploitation of children and adolescents in digital environments where technologies present risk and facilitate new forms of victimization. We also recognize the results of the report of the 11 countries that put together the report. Mr. Chairman, the report identifies that these crimes not only imply direct abuse, but rather a complex system of different modalities that include production and distribution of sexual abuse on children material, exploitation, sexual online grooming, extortion, and exploitation. This has noxious effects. This violates the dignity of our children and adolescents. and might be or lead to sexual exploitation, which leads to some kind of involvement of third parties or profit. The general framework of Guatemala specifically speaks to crimes that are linked to these kinds of behaviors. The Secretariat Against Sexual Violence, Exploitation, and Trafficking of Persons is the institution responsible for preventing and going after and eradicating sexual violence, exploitation, and trafficking of persons in the various and sundry manifestations thereof. Through Decree 9909, the law against sexual violence, exploitation, and trafficking in persons, along with other reforms in Guatemala, we have sanctions so that those who promote, facilitate, or participate in these sexual activities that are remunerated with children can have action taken. In keeping with these legislative commitments, Guatemala has implemented a national strategy, Modo Digital, which was launched in 2025 with a view to protect young people and promote the safe use of the Internet. This initiative includes a cyber safety program, prevention guides on the platform, and in reporting. These tools are designed to inform, accompany, and support, as well as offer denunciation mechanisms for children and adolescents, as well as families and educators when it comes to sexual exploitation of children. Digitally, it reflects the efforts made in the institutions that combines education and cooperation amongst the institutions, showing the capacity of the Guatemalan state to adopt their public policies to digital realities. Mr. Chairman, Guatemala fully shares the concern that we heard in the report. The digital environment is not a neutral space. It's a scenario where identification, training, and manipulation of victims takes place. More increasingly, it's transnational and it's anonymous. And that is why we support urgently a hemispheric response, which is coordinated and which is based on technical competencies with participation of the state, civil society, private sector, and international organizations to shore up the systems of prevention and protection, promoting digital safe education, family accompaniment, training of teachers and first-line helpers, as well as denunciation mechanisms for children and adolescents is something we cannot wait for. We truly appreciate the role of the Institute when it comes to generating these standards, technical assistance, and coordination among states to improve detection, response, and attention to victims. We would like to offer a clarion call to strengthen cooperation for technological means, specialized police, and regional organizations to guarantee that the Internet is a safe and respectful space for the dignity of all children and adolescents in the Americas. We reiterate our commitment to protect children and supports the recommendation in the report as a guide for joint action, which is urgent and will be ongoing. Thank you. Thank you very much. Guatemala, Mexico has the floor. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mexico truly appreciates Mrs. Garcete and her report. She is the DG of the Inter-American Children's Institute. We appreciate her leadership and her work and for presenting this report, which reaffirms a painful reality, the sexual exploitation of children and adolescents, facilitated by the technology that we have or some kind of digital component. This is increasingly common with data that we heard in the report that reflects the dimension of this very complex problem. In Mexico, we implement efforts to eradicate this scourge in a very forceful way. Only in 2025 alone, we had different initiatives for reforming the general law for rights of children and adolescents. This is geared towards shoring up their protection in social media, to set up a national registry of persons and sexual predators of children and adolescents, and to have a safe digital space with rights. As of 2024, we have a registry, the protection of children and adolescents. As hearings, this was drafted by the Secretary of Governance through the National System for the Protection of Children and Adolescents across the board, and in cooperation with the Public Prosecutor's Office and UNESCO. This initiative put together the voices and opinions of children and adolescents, all Mexican, what they want and what they don't want to see. this was done with what they agree to and what they don't in terms of audiovisual programs which go through electronic and digital means, both public and private. These efforts realize that Mexico has a commitment to eradicate all forms of violence against children and adolescents. From our feminist approach and with specific emphasis to eradicate all violence based on gender, which we conclude today, we would like to offer a clarion call to all states and the private sector and social organizations to shore up the efforts being made to protect the dignity of all children and adolescents, to take care of and defend their privacy via respect, unbridled respect of confidentiality of their personal data, and to promote the creation of appropriate content with educational content, teaching content, and culturally relevant content, as well as avoid any dilution of material that hurts their physical or mental health. We urge adopting the ethic of care and co-responsibility, social co-responsibility geared toward guaranteeing safety and the well-being of all children when it comes to sexual exploitation practice, including those spaces and digital environments. We truly appreciate all the efforts of Director Garcete and the recommendations issued by the Institute, of which we have taken due note. We offer our support and commitment for this very important work for the well-being of children and adolescents in the region. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mexico. Bolivia has the floor. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. We truly appreciate Maria Julia Garcete, DG of the Inter-American Children's Institute, for her presentation of the report that reflects achievements and challenges of some member states of our organization. In many aspects, we see this reflected and we feel identified. This resonates with us. It's really very important to understand the innovative initiatives of the governments of the hemisphere when it comes to children and adolescents in the area of sexual exploitation in the digital environment. And we would congratulate all the work done. There are still a lot of challenges out there, be they structural, but they require public policies and deep-seated measures that are constantly updated and which will look at education and prevention, considering that sexual exploitation also exists in the digital environment. In Bolivia, we have 1636 law for protection of children in the digital environment. This was passed in September this year. This law generates mechanisms for prevention, protection, and rehabilitation for the victims of all forms of sexual violence in digital environments. And it stipulates 5 new crimes in the criminal code. Nonetheless, we are well aware that coordinated action is necessary to eradicate sexual violence and digital crimes, which continue to be a scourge for our region across the board. And that is why our government has taken on the full-fledged commitment to protect children and adolescents by designing public policies which are adequate and timely. And we want to crystallize these dimensions in the digital environment. This is an imperative that calls for resources. It requires international cooperation and especially efforts made by the state that should be committed and unconditional. Once again, we truly appreciate the Inter-American Children's Institute for all of the very important recommendations which are included in the report. These we consider are of utmost importance, and we take them on. Once again, we are truly grateful for the permanent ongoing accompaniment of member states as they follow and comply with the rights of children and adolescents in the hemisphere. Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias, Bolivia.
Thank you to Bolivia. Jamaica is recognized.
You have to turn on the mic.
Chair, Assistant Secretary General, Excellencies, colleagues, I have the opportunity to address this body today on an issue that strikes at the heart of our collective obligations to the most vulnerable among us, the protection of our children and adolescents from sexual exploitation, including in digital environments. The rapid expansion of digital technologies while offering, The rapid expansion of digital technologies while offering extraordinary opportunities for learning, communication, and inclusion has also created a new space for predatory for predators to exploit, manipulate, and harm young people. Online grooming, the distribution of child sexual abuse material, cyber trafficking, live stream exploitation, and other emerging forms of digital violence are now pervasive threats across our hemisphere. No nation, regardless of size or technological capacity, is immune. For Jamaica and the wider Caribbean region, these concerns are urgent and are deeply felt. As small and technological open societies, our children are often highly connected but insufficiently protected. While our law enforcement and social service frameworks must constantly adapt to evolving digital tools used by offenders, this is not merely a crime prevention challenge. It is a human rights imperative, a development priority, and a moral duty. The OAS, through bodies such as the Inter-American Children Institute, the Inter-American Commission for Women, and the Secretariat for Multidimensional Security, has an indispensable role to play in strengthening national and regional responses. Jamaica therefore commends the organization's recent capacity-building initiatives, legislative guidance, and hemispheric analysis that have illuminated the scale and complexity of this issue. Yet, much more needs to be done. In this regard, Jamaica underscores several priorities for its collective action. Strengthening legal and policy frameworks, enhancing cross-border collaboration, building digital literacy and resilience, supporting victims with compassion and care, leveraging technology responsibility. Excellencies, protecting our children online is not a challenge that can be postponed. Every day that we delay, more young lives are scarred, often invisibly, often irreversibly. Digital world offers extraordinary promise, but only if we ensure that it is a space where children can learn, dream, and grow free from fear. Jamaica reaffirms its commitment to working within the OAS to strengthen hemispheric cooperation, share best practices, and support evidence-based policies to eradicate the sexual exploitation of children and adolescents in all its forms. Let us continue to anchor our actions in compassion, vigilance, and a steadfast dedication to safeguarding the rights and dignity of every child in our hemisphere. I thank you, Mr. Chair.
Muchas gracias, Jamaica.
Thank you, Jamaica. El Salvador. Thank you very much, Chair. El Salvador thanks Ms. Garcete, the Director of the IIN, for presenting the report on measures undertaken by member states in order to fight sexual exploitation of children and teens in the Americas. We greatly value the contributions identified with a strategic character that's of great interest to my country and the region. El Salvador reiterates its staunch commitment to comprehensively protecting children and teens online, and this is a commitment that we have shouldered with a sense of responsibility at the highest level of our institutions. This is noted in the report, where El Salvador promoted workshops on cybercrime and cyber harassment and has strengthened its national legislation by incorporating figures such as grooming, sexting, and sexual extortion. Similarly, we see active participation from children and teens in safe and responsible use of the internet. Similarly, we have been working continuously in fighting TIP and its related crimes with a special focus on protecting women, children, and adolescents through the regional shelter for victims of trafficking and also comprehensive treatment to ensure their rights are respected and that survivors are able to reintegrate socially. We also have robust institutions led by the National Council Against TIP, which leads strategic activities aimed at prevention, detection, and prosecution of these crimes in coordination with various national and international entities. However, despite these advancements, we know that there are still important challenges ahead, and therefore we need additional policies aimed at, among others, promoting the safe use of ICT and others. Chair, El Salvador believes that the report presented is a valuable tool. It provides us with opportunities that are tangible when it comes to strengthening our public policies in our states and ensuring that we continue to deepen inter-American cooperation in this area. Finally, we reiterate our commitments shouldered in fighting this scourge and express our will to continuing to strengthen our national and regional efforts in order to fight sexual exploitation of teens and adolescents online. We trust that the best practices highlighted in the report can be adopted and adapted to each context, thus advancing our shared objective of ensuring full development and well-being of our children and teens. Thank you very much. Thank you to El Salvador. Costa Rica is recognized. Good afternoon, Chair. Thank you very much for the presentation from Maria Julia Garcete, the Director General of the Inter-American Institute on Children and Adolescents. We recognize her leadership in fulfilling the mandate stemming from the GA to draft this report on measures undertaken by member states in fighting sexual exploitation of children, particularly online. The document presented today is a technical contribution and of high value for our region. Its hemispheric level analysis is based on official information from 11 member states, including Costa Rica, and it highlights the growing complexity of the new digital reality of sexual exploitation, as well as material for sexual exploitation, sextortion, grooming, and other types of manipulation of children. The report also identifies advancement in promoting interinstitutional cooperation, but it also highlights persistent shortcomings when it comes to criminal prosecution, creating broken down data, institutional coordination, and strengthening capacities for specialized professionals. We particularly recognize the efforts of the Institute to work within the 2023-2027 centenary plan, as well as programs on trafficking, sexual exploitation, and comprehensive protection for children in the hemisphere. For Costa Rica, protecting children and adolescents is a central axis of our public policies. Children, the IIN, in its national reports, notes that we continue to strengthen our national comprehensive protection system in Costa Rica, as well as our national policy on children and teens for 2024-2036. This is also led by our National Institute on Children through prevention campaigns, early intervention programs, as well as community activities. This is how we promote timely identification of risk, violence prevention, as well as specialized care. This includes children and teens in human mobility. Sexual exploitation material is where we have been promoting specific activities in order to address this scourge, and we have a national plan against sexual exploitation for commercial ends, which includes activities with the tourism sector, as well as other bodies and entities of our government. This goes hand in hand with training for digital literacy, prevention of abuse, as well as awareness campaigns under the leadership of PANE and other public bodies. We fully agree with the focus of this report in strengthening institutional and international cooperation, and we have noted the transnational nature of these crimes, which requires a robust response, as well as channels for cooperation between specialized police units, telecoms authorities, prosecution departments, and others. And against this backdrop, we greatly value the coordinating role played by the IIN, its technical support, and exchange of best practices between member states. Chair, we reiterate that protecting children is an unavoidable, irrefutable obligation, and children should be at the very heart of our decisions, policies, and budgets. Sexual exploitation online is one of the most serious and widespread forms of violence in the region, and only through a comprehensive, preventive, protective, punishing approach will we be able to effectively fight it. Costa Rica would like to support the IIN and recognizes the technical rigor of this report. We reiterate our commitment to continuing to strengthen our national activities as well as participate actively in inter-American spaces aimed at ensuring that every child and teen in this hemisphere grows in a safe, protective environment free of any form of violence, and that includes those taking place online. Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias, Costa.
Thank you to Costa Rica. Ecuador is recognized. Thank you very much, Chair, Your Excellencies, representatives of member states, dear guests. We are here today to address a scourge, which is a threat to the integrity of our future generations. That is sexual exploitation of children and adolescents online. The IIN, in its report for the Secretary General of the OAS, has presented a detailed panorama of the measures undertaken by member states in order to fight this form of violence, which is spread online. This is a document based on the responses from countries in the region, and it underscores exactly how the exponential growth of access to the internet has in fact facilitated types of child porn, sexting, and grooming. It has an impact particularly on vulnerable sectors of the population, and it's imperative that we recognize that this report not only provides a diagnostic of the problem, but also urges collective action in order to protect the rights of children, which are increasingly interconnected. The Republic of Ecuador, through its Ministry of Public Health, aims at ensuring comprehensive health care through technical standard on comprehensive care for victims of gender-based violence and serious human rights violations. And this is a standard that stems from 2019. For children and teens who have suffered from psychological, sexual, and physical violence. And this is a standard that covers the activities included in the report, and that includes the cross-cutting nature of standards, and we work on integrating standards for care when it comes to gender-based violence and healthcare throughout the entire healthcare network and the complementary private network as well. This seeks to ensure high-quality care that is confidential and timely, protecting children and adolescents who have been victims of this type of violence and ensuring their access to justice. The report also provides details on great advancement when it comes to addressing this problem to begin with, and despite that progress, we still see critical challenges that require our immediate attention. The transnational nature of these crimes complicates things for jurisdictions, as well as the anonymous nature on the internet also promotes impunity. We find that there are limitations to having an exact diagnostic, and the report suggests legal tools in order to address new forms of violence, promoting national plans and promoting participation and actively listening to children and teens in designing our public policies in this area and others. I would like to call on all states to redouble their efforts with the IIN, and to do so in raising awareness, providing resources for specialized researchers, including the elimination of stigmas that re-victimize victims, because it is only through a regional partnership that is robust will we be able to actually eradicate this digital scourge and ensure a dignified life for our children. We can't address the problem if we don't first highlight the important work that's been carried out. So thank you very much to the IIN for its very valuable work, and that I express through its director, Ms. Garcete. Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you very much to Ecuador. The Dominican Republic is recognized. Thank you, Chair. The Dominican Republic would like to thank you for presenting the 2025 report of the Inter-American Institute of Children and Adolescents, the IIN, and we also recognize the valuable work it has carried out in building evidence and recommendations for addressing sexual exploitation of teens and children in the Americas. Stemming from a mandate from the GA, this is something that has been carried out since 1999, and we see how it is reflected in the very report. This has evolved as time has gone on, and now it has reached the digital realm, and this is one of the most complex areas of this very alarming violence against children in our region. It's alarming when we look at the very different situations where children and teens are exposed to violence and sexual exploitation online. It violates their integrity and sensibility. It turns them into victims of sexual exploitation and other forms of sexual violence as well. The conclusion of this study shares with us challenges that require urgent action by member states. And from this perspective, the Dominican Republic, through the National Council for Children and Adolescents, known as CONANI, has been working on a draft reform of our criminal code for the system of protection as well as the fundamental freedoms of children and adolescents. This goes back to 2003. It addresses current challenges such as new technology, recognizing the right of minors to access a digital environment that is safe and allow them to use this tool while being protected from any associated risks. At the same time, we at the Dominican Institute for Telecoms, Indatel, has been working on projects aimed at educating children such as Safe Click 360. This addresses cybersecurity for children and adolescents and provides parental controls, also known as Parental Control 360, to provide practical tools for parents to ensure digital protection of their children online and ensure that they are aware of how their children are using these digital platforms. Chair, I would like to conclude by reiterating that ensuring safe digital spaces for children and adolescents is a responsibility shared by everyone, the private sector, government, and society as a whole. This is sine qua non if we are going to ensure full exercise of children's rights and strengthen our democracy. Thank you very much. Thank you very much to the DR, and the Holy See is recognized. Thank you very much, Chair. The Mission of the Holy See thanks you very much for presenting this report drafted by the Inter-American Institute of Children and Adolescents on sexual exploitation of children and adolescents in the digital environment. We greatly value the efforts placed forth for providing data, though they are still somewhat fragmented, but they do allow us to shed light on worrying aspects of a painful reality that besets individuals who are particularly vulnerable. The report highlights above all that sexual exploitation of children and adolescents online is not an isolated phenomenon. Rather, this is a new manifestation and an expansion of forms of violence that seriously violate their personal dignity. Upon reviewing this data, the Holy See would like to reiterate the absolute dignity of every child and adolescent. Sexual exploitation under any form is a radical denial of that value. As noted by Pope Francis in his speech to participants in the Congress Promoting Digital Dignity held on November 14th, 2019, I quote, "In a world like ours, in which borders between states are continuously broken down by the dynamic created by digital advancement, our efforts must shoulder the dimension of a global movement that brings together the most noble commitments of the human family and international institutions to protect the dignity of minors and every individual. This is a difficult challenge that forces us to ask new questions. How do we defend the dignity of individuals and minors online when life and identity are irrefutably linked to the data that identify us and the new forms of power that constantly are mutating. How can we come up with principles and requirements that must be respected by everyone online when everything is so globalized? These are the types of questions that require deep solidarity with everyone who works with patience and intelligence for this cause in this world of international relations and standards. End quote. The delegation of the Holy See once again would like to express its gratitude for presenting this report. Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you very much to the Holy See. I don't see any further requests for the floor, and therefore, thank you very much once again to Director Garcete for presenting the report, as well as for the interventions from the delegations. Protecting children's rights continues to be a fundamental responsibility. This is key to continuing this debate. And the Inter-American Institute of Children and Adolescents here plays a key role in addressing sexual exploitation of children. Therefore, we urge it to continue its work and maintain this Permanent Council informed about any of its advancement. We suggest that the Permanent Council take note of the presentation, which will be noted in the minutes of this session. If there are no further requests for the floor, it is hereby agreed. Item 5 on our very extensive order of business. This is the request sent by the delegations of Mexico, Brazil, Bolivia, Chile, Colombia, Costa Rica, Guatemala, Dominican Republic, and Uruguay. We are commemorating the International Day of Human Rights. That is today on December 10th. So with that in mind, I'd like to ask the Secretariat to please project the video intervention of Commissioner José Luis Caballero Ochoa, the President of the Inter-American Commission of Human Rights, who will be given the floor first as one of the three panelists intervening with regard to this topic. Secretariat. The video, please. Ladies and gentlemen, dear members of member states, organizations of civil society, dear friends, today, on December 10th, the international community is coming together to remember that human rights are the very foundation of our democratic coexistence. As President of the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights, I would like to speak briefly about this day that calls on all of us. The Center for Work at the Inter-American Convention are victims, and everything we do, every action, every statement, every single measure is aimed at protecting and ensuring the rights of those who have suffered from human rights violations. We remember the victims of dictatorships that have forged the path of our region for decades during the 70s and 80s, but also those who today are suffering from forced disappearances, extrajudicial killings, violence, as children, adolescents, violence against women, discrimination against the LGBTQ community, xenophobia against persons in situations of human mobility, persecution for political opinions, attacks on journalists and human rights defenders, and violence against indigenous communities and Afro-descendant communities. The memory itself is not just a gesture of the past. This is a responsibility that we all carry today. The Inter-American Commission is the conscience of this region, and we support the victims and their family members. We document violations of their rights. We dialogue with governments. We coordinate with the United Nations and other regional systems. And without fail, we defend the universality of human rights. This year, the challenges have been clear. The Inter-American Commission spoke on 92 occasions with states, and we received over 1,900 requests for precautionary measures. Each request represents a person, a family, a community that is turning to the Commission seeking urgent protection. This figure speaks for itself. Our region is living with vulnerabilities and hot spots, and this requires a robust response that is coordinated in the face of these challenges, which are numerous. There are reasons to be concerned, and there are patterns that are alarming, including a frittering away of the civic space and restrictions on the right to protest, attacks on the freedom of expression and human rights defenders, structural inequality, which has a particular impact on women, indigenous communities, and Afro-descendants, democratic setbacks, and weakening of the judiciary, growing violence, including violence based on gender and against LGBTQ persons, social and environmental crises, which are worsened by climate and migration events, hate speech, and attempts to set back rights that have been won, persistent impunity for violence. Nothing would be possible without human rights defense organizations, community leaders, young people, Afro-descendants, indigenous people, victims and their families, survivors who each day document, report, and insist on honoring human dignity. If we don't address all of these risks, we must address all of these risks. And we also must look at killings, smear campaigns, criminalization, stigmatizing space, and violent attacks. Additionally, we see restrictive laws and arbitrary controls on financing that place their sustainability at risk, limiting the civic space and the right to defend rights. That all means limiting democracy, without a doubt. That is why we urge the member states to ensure citizens' participation and protect this right to defend human rights, ensure judicial independence, defend the right to expression and journalistic freedom, fight discrimination, and ensure equality, fulfill international obligations when it comes to human rights, and others. December 10th, this isn't just a ceremonial act. This is an appeal for action for victims of human rights violations and to strengthen the rule of law and democracy. The Inter-American Commission will continue to build bridges with victims, ensure early warnings, and guarantee rights. We will also guarantee that these rights continue to be a tenet of our democracies. The Inter-American system, without a doubt, is the voice that urges states, that demands that they fulfill their responsibilities to ensure that everyone lives in freedom and dignity. In this context, and on this day, we reiterate that human rights will not be set back. Thank you very much.
Agradecemos.
We would like to thank the Commissioner Caballero, for his comments. And we would like to also transmit our recognition and our gratitude for your participation in this commemoration. Next, I should like to ask the Secretary to project the intervention from our second panelist. Here we have Judge Nancy Hernandez Lopez, President of the Inter-American Human Rights Court.
buenos días.
Good morning. Warm greeting to the Chair of the Permanent Council, to you, ambassadors, ladies and gentlemen, to the Secretary General, to the President of the Inter-American Human Rights Court, to civil society, ladies and gentlemen who are with us today. I'm very honored as President of the Inter-American Human Rights Court to take the floor for a few minutes today to participate, even though it's virtual, in the initiative that the Permanent Council has taken to call together a commemoration of the International Day of Human Rights. This is an initiative of the Permanent Mission of Mexico and the delegations of Brazil, Chile, Costa Rica, Uruguay. This commemoration gives us an opportunity to halt our daily work for a moment and to look with perspective and ask ourselves, how has this commitment been that has guided states since 1948 to approve an American Declaration of Rights for All Men, and then afterwards to spearhead the creation of the Regional Protection System for Human Rights? We can say that over these decades, there's no shadow of a doubt that the Americas have changed deeply. Our countries have gone from dictatorships and armed conflict to constitutional democracies. And with all of the challenges, have taken on human rights as a basic point of reference for development. And this path was accompanied and facilitated by the Inter-American System of Human Rights. There's no shadow of a doubt about that, both with the work of the Commission and the Court as the body for clarification and denunciations and justice, but above everything else for upholding the dignity of all victims. Today, nonetheless, we are grappling with new challenges and other old challenges that chime in. In various countries in the region, we see an erosion of democracies and an attempt to capture and undermine independent institutions, campaigns that fly in the face and discredit journalists or organizations that uphold human rights as well, legal organizations, both national as well as the court itself, and other kinds of organized crime, which oftentimes undermine state capacity. And at the same time, there are new problems such as climate change, the impact of digital technology, which are not regulated, information, transnational crime. This begs different questions when it comes to human rights and the original instruments that we can't even imagine. And in this context, then, the dialogue on human rights, we cannot just limit ourselves to past achievements, but we have to reaffirm commitments. And in this regard, I should like to reaffirm three main ideas. First, I think that human rights and democracy depend on the strength of institutions that are called on to protect them. And I think, for example, the legal independence and integrity of justice, autonomy, or integrity of electoral organizations in particular, the freedom of expression and freedom of journalism and the press, and guardrails on power. And here, when institutions are attacked or or otherwise have questionable content, human rights have to be looked at. Secondly, the Inter-American system is not an external or foreign player, but a firm part of our states when it comes to human dignity. When the court has an advisory opinion or a ruling, it does so because states have adopted these things. The decisions don't want to be a substitute for democracy, but rather offer legal parameters, minimum parameters that protect people when it comes to excesses in power, and particularly when there are grave violations of human rights. In the last few years, the court has given its opinion on various topics, such as the right to care and judicial independence, gender violence, freedom of expression, discrimination, protection of the environment, climate change, rights of indigenous peoples, the memory when it comes to grave violations of the past, or the use of technology in the context of the state and many other areas. In all of these areas, the one guiding light, and that is to remember that no matter what political agenda, it cannot deny the dignity of people. And thirdly, I want to underscore that despite these problems, there are glimmers of hope, such as constitutions and Supreme Courts that dialogue with inter-American jurisprudence and establish jurisprudence and incorporate standards in their laws and in their executive institutions and public policies in applying decisions from the court or other recommendations from the Commission, which help us to strengthen democracy and the rule of law. All of this confirms that the inter-American system is not just a mechanism for control, but rather a space for political and juridical cooperation. And this cooperation makes it such that these organizations in the system should work with impartiality, and that states also maintain their commitment in fulfilling the decisions that have been adopted in the framework of the treaties that freely and in a sovereign way they ratified. A day like today, I would like to explicitly recognize the victims who fight for their rights. Those are the ones who make our work have sense. The cases that go to the court, there are people, families, communities that have gone through long processes and painful processes, and in many cases dangerous ones in their quest for justice. It's thanks to them that our legal systems have moved ahead and advanced, and there have been many institutional reforms, public policy laws that we consider are normal and that are fruits of resilience and perseverance. So I would like to conclude by affirming a conviction from the court, and that is that protection of human rights as a ethical legal part of power, as we underscored, mean that human rights are for all humans. The alternative in the world without human rights is not a viable world submitted to chaos, but with human rights as a guiding light, democracy, public policy, and peace will flower, and everything therefrom will happen. On behalf of the Inter-American Court, I truly appreciate the Permanent Council for this opportunity to participate in this commemoration, and I reiterate the commitment of this tribunal to uphold the foundational bedrock of the Organization of American States for justice and dignity for all people. This should be an aspiration which is tangible for all of the Americas. Thank you very much. We truly appreciate the comments from Judge Nancy Hernandez Lopez, President of the Inter-American Human Rights Court. And, well, of course, we appreciate those delegations who made that intervention possible, such as the President of the Inter-American Human Rights and the Commissioner Caballero. Lastly, I have the pleasure of greeting and offering the floor to Mrs. Maria Florencia Reguiardo, Director of the Program for the Andean region, North America, and the Caribbean of the Center for Justice and International Law, CECIL. Director Reguiardo, welcome to the Permanent Council. You have the floor for 7 minutes. Good morning, Mr. Chairman of the Permanent Council, distinguished representatives of member states of the OAS, Assistant Secretary General, and all authorities in the organization, Honorable Chair of the Commission and President of the Court, dear representatives of civil society and the public who is present. I am very honored to address you to represent CECIL. We truly appreciate the invitation for civil society to be able to commemorate this day with member states in a space that reflects the spirit of dialogue and cooperation that characterizes our inter-American system of human rights. The 10th of December is not just a commemorative date. It's a collective memory of a fundamental consensus that human dignity and equality are center front of the international juridical system, and that their protection calls on shared commitments and constant cooperation among states, international organizations, and civil society. The Americas play a decisive role in building this consensus. Adoption of the American Declaration of Human Rights in 1948 inspired the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. This early vocation in the inter-American system has been a determining factor to consolidate the rule of law and democracy in the region. Through this interpretation that has evolved and that's alive in the Inter-American Commission and in other treaties, the Inter-American system has contributed to developing fundamental rights for our region, such as the right to freedom, identity, access to public information, giving a response to different historic realities as well as factual realities. From the time democracy has come back, there has been decisive initiatives to have impunity erased. This is a regional point of inflection when establishing these prescriptions and other points of responsibility that are incompatible with the Inter-American Convention when we have to sanction grave violations of human rights. And these standards have had and continue to have concrete effects in the internal sphere, looking at national tribunals when it comes to committing to the strengthening of the rule of law. In this process, the development of principles of control and conventionality has allowed for inter-American standards guide public policies that are more protecting. And this reaffirms that all authorities in the state are part and parcel of a common thread for the protection of human rights. Alongside this, the inter-American system has developed an integral and transforming fabric for reparations, not only to pay reparations for facts, but to promote institutional reforms so as to guarantee non-repetition of these facts. And a pragmatic effect is Maria de Peña case that contributed to recognizing domestic violence against women as a violation of human rights and spearheaded institutional and legal reforms in Brazil. Alongside this, the inter-American system made progress when it comes to economic, social, cultural, and environmental rights, especially relevant given the current climate crisis and the disproportionate impact on communities that are vulnerable. The Advisory Committee 32 reflects this effort to integrate science and emerging climate crisis from the human rights standpoint. Similarly, the Inter-American Court has an advisory opinion issued by Guatemala on the right in democracy at a time that is particularly relevant regionally and globally. This initiative is very important if you bear in mind that democracy has been a guiding light in the inter-American system since the very creation of the OAS, particularly enshrined in the preamble of the Charter and in the Inter-American Democratic Charter as well. And no achievement in the inter-American system has been possible. Nothing would have been possible without the participation of civil society. From the origins, the defenders of human rights, we have documented complex contact, accompanied victims, and we've contributed very decisively to the development of these moves in the Americas. To strengthen this role is not by chance. It calls for structural conditions to be effective for the system itself. Nonetheless, this space of participation now is grappling with challenges in different contexts in the region. There is stigmatization, criminalization, and reprisals against people who defend human rights and other players that defend justice. This dynamic not only affects those who are hard hit directly, but it hurts the quality of dialogue and it hurts one of the main pillars of the region. To recognize these challenges not implies undermining the achievements, but to take on regionally and responsibly that participation and the right to defend rights is imperative for the inter-American system to continue to fulfill its mandate. In that regard, the system has the real capacity and concrete capacity to fulfill its mandate of protection, both bodies through protectionary measures and through processing cases as well as unfolding specialized investigatory follow-up measures. These can, in a timely fashion, step up and respond and deal with special cases. These cases should be strengthened when the organization as a whole cooperates. States, accompanied by the Secretary General and the other political bodies, play a role to spearhead situations that look at processes of criminalization and other legitimate uses of international protective measures. We encourage states then to think alongside civil society of mechanisms to respond to these kinds of reprisals. So in this regard then, fulfilling the decisions in the inter-American system is crucial. The rulings of the court and the commission not only help victims, but they strengthen democratic institutions, and they look at repairing and moving towards peace. This is a concrete expression of the commitment with the rule of law and multilateralism. The role of states is very decisive. To protect the inter-American system implies respecting the organs, the bodies, and making things safe for the participation of civil society. Strengthen guarantees between the state and to use the inter-American system as a tool for governance, democracy, and settlement of conflict. In this International Day for Human Rights, we reaffirm that the commitment to dignity, multilateralism, and the inter-American system is strong and effective, and it continues relevant and is a responsibility that is shared. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your comments, Director Figueroa. Thank you very much for reminding us the very relevant role in the continent for the Declaration of the Americas, the reason we are actually celebrating today. Thank you very much for everything on this 37th anniversary. Moving on then, I should like to give the floor to those delegations who might like to participate in this commemoration. And first we have Chile. Chile is recognized. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Chile has taken due note and truly appreciates the comments made by panelists. In these critical times, many people have the feeling of insecurity, disappointment, and alienation, and the International Day of Human Rights tells us that we must reaffirm that human rights are not a luxury nor any kind of abstract aspiration, but rather an indispensable pillar for the well-being of our societies. Human rights are not discussed, nor can they be negotiated. They have to be guaranteed. And that is why it is very worrisome to listen to the conclusions of the reform from 2025 from the monitors. We see a generalized deterioration of the spaces before us. From 125 countries, civil society has severe restrictions placed upon it, including arbitrary detention, repression of protests, censure, restrictive measures, and digital persecution. This undermining of the space and the use of these spaces are essential for democracy, but this means that there's less civil society participation, a weakening of pluralism, and a growing self-censorship. A lot of these mechanisms of repression are not necessarily violent, but rather they filter in the sophisticated regulatory framework, which is to control these social organizations and impose administrative roadblocks. This, including, promotes public stigmatization of those who raise their voice. In extreme cases, we have the use of tools of criminal prosecution to quiet dissidents or those that exercise a role of defending human rights. Our region is not free of this reality. In the 2024 report, it warns us of an alarming deterioration of human rights in Latin America, marked by repression of dissent, criminalization of protest, impunity for grave crimes, and lack of protection for the most vulnerable populations. These phenomena are part of an authoritarian trend which weakens democratic pillars and gravely affects defenders of human rights. indigenous leaders, journalists, and environmental activists. Their work is increasingly important in front what we could describe as a forced silence, which undermines the rule of law. Mr. Chairman, restriction of these civic spaces and the work of those who defend human rights is not an isolated phenomenon, but rather a structural component of a democratic setback that we see at different levels. Criminalization, repressive laws, and judicial physical harassment, stigmatization, censure reduce the capacity of people and their communities to organize themselves, to denounce abuse, to call on responsibility and accountability. As a result of that, the rule of law is weakened. We are weakening democratic institutions, and there's an increase in concentration of power. We're talking about a reality that is very worrisome in Chile, which should call attention to this, and member states that has as one of its pillars promotion and respect for human rights. And then in the final analysis, for the commemoration of the International Day of Human Rights, we should be able to recognize these challenges and take action. Promotion and respect for human rights is ongoing work, which takes on different forms according to the different realities that we have to grapple with, both individual as well as collectively. This leads us to work to recommit people on a daily basis when it comes to human rights. These are not concepts which are rhetorical or foreign. These are rather guarantees that allow each and every person to live with dignity, safety, and freedom. With human rights, when they are established, they become indivisible. On the other hand, when they are valued, we move towards social cohesion and democratic resilience. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chile. Given the time, we're going to give the floor to Barbados. We have to move on at 1 o'clock to our commemoration outside in the patio. Barbados has the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Barbados is honored to address this Permanent Council as we mark International Human Rights Day, a day that demands not only reflection but stewardship of a fragile and precious trust, the trust between people, the trust placed in institutions, and the trust that human dignity is neither selective, situational, nor disposable. Across our hemisphere and across our world, that trust is being eroded. We have witnessed grave and systematic violations, from discrimination and political violence to the oppression of women and girls, the silencing of civil society, the persecution of minorities, and the degradation of our environment. We see a culture of impunity where power all too frequently shields itself from accountability, while the powerless bear the consequences. Hate speech is on the rise. Misogyny is on the rise. Exclusion and intolerance is on the rise, magnified by digital spaces that reward outrage over accuracy and division over decency. And we see a slow unraveling of the global order meant to defend the smallest and most vulnerable among us. Human rights are not lofty ideals. They are ontological needs that determine whether people live with safety or fear, hope or despair, peace or conflict. Barbados embraces this truth because we know from history and lived experience that development without dignity is hollow and progress without rights is fragile. The true measure of development is the expansion of human freedom, freedom from poverty, from discrimination, from the indignity of exclusion. This hemisphere cannot prosper if millions remain locked out of opportunity because of class, race, disability, or gender, nor can we build a just future while averting our eyes from the historical injustices that have shaped and continue to shape today's inequality. Barbados has long argued, and I reaffirm today, that the legacy of slavery and colonial exploitation continues to structure global inequity. A rights-based development agenda, Mr. Chairman, therefore requires truth, justice, and reparatory action, not as charity, but as duty. The past 5 years have shown that crises, whether hurricanes, pandemics, conflicts, or economic shocks, expose the deep fault lines of inequality. For small island developing states, crisis is not episodic, it is a volatile reality. The climate crisis is the greatest human rights challenge of our time, and for our small nation island states, it is existential. We do not ask for sympathy, we ask for justice. Justice in financing, in mitigating, and in adaptation. One Category 5 hurricane can undo decades of national effort. One pandemic case can erase entire sectors. The rights of future generations demand that we make decisions today and place humanity above profit and science above politics. Let us not be the generation that knew better but still chose to do less for future generations. Excellencies, there is no credible commitment to human rights that tolerates violence against women, economic marginalization of women, or political systems that exclude women's voices. We cannot preach democracy while half of our population lives under siege in their own homes or remains shut out of decision-making. We must confront misogyny in culture, in politics, in our economies, with the urgency we devote to any threat to peace. A society that diminishes its women diminishes its future. And democracy does not die only in darkness, it dies in silence. Civil society, journalists, activists, faith leaders, and ordinary citizens must be free to speak truth without fear of reprisal. Let me be unambiguous. Freedom of conscience cannot justify persecution, and freedom of expression cannot license hate. This hemisphere must recommit to civility, dialogue, and the future participation of every individual in public life. Finally, global problems demand global solutions. Yet too often, we see fragmentation where unity is indispensable and geopolitical rivalry where collaboration is essential. The distortion of global governance by narrow interests serves the few. Small states must have a real seat at the table, not as spectators, but as equal partners. A rules-based international order must protect those for whom the rules were written. If not, it becomes a fiction, and fiction do not save lives. Finally, Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to say that on this day, earlier today, I was given the news that Barbados has appointed a commissioner of civil rights, and in that, of human rights, sorry, and we have appointed a Barbadian who is visually impaired.
Muchas gracias por su intervención.
Thank you for your intervention. And so we will continue with this session of the Permanent Council after the lunch break. We will come back at 2:30 sharp.